folks, it's J. Kyle Mann from The Ringer. And as always, basketball is so freaking good. It's so good, in fact, that The Ringer's NBA Draft Show is finally back just in time for a ramp up to June. We've got you covered every week as we take an in-depth look at who's got next for the NBA's future. We'll talk the rising and falling stocks of the best and the brightest prospects in the 2025 NBA draft class, from Cooper Flagg to Dylan Harper to VJ Edgecombe and more. Tap in with me on the Ringer NBA Draft Show every Wednesday and make sure that you follow, subscribe, and hit us with those 5-star ratings.
Welcome to the Ringer Fantasy Football Show. My name is Danny Heifetz. I'm joined by Danny Kelly and Craig Horlbeck. And today we are going over all the wide receivers. Well, not all the wide receivers, but many wide receivers that are vexing us for the 2025 season. We got a bunch of categories we're going to go through. I think I'm more excited for the receiver position this year than I have in... I don't have a specific time set going back. I feel like I could have
6 years.
I don't know. Yeah. But I'm just looking at the top 12 guys right now. Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Brian Thomas, Malik Neighbors, Nico Collins, Puka Nacua, AJ Brown, Ladd McConkey, Drake London, Mike Evans, Terry McLaurin. Like, that's the top 13. I am more confident in like that top 13 than I can ever remember. There's been some incredible years, but I feel incredible about all those dudes. Don't you feel that way, DK?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And the fact that, so right now, AJ Brown is our 9th receiver. Like, that says a lot, I feel like, because he's just so freaking good. But yeah, we're living in the golden age of receiving and receivers.
This
and
is like what it was for running backs
exciting.
when I first started getting into fantasy. It was like the running backs were the coolest thing. Now it's wide receivers. Now the first pick is probably going to be a wide receiver. You want to get out of the first round or the first 2 rounds with at least one elite wide receiver. And like the cool thing in drafting now is to like just go heavy wide receiver. And there's always like 1 or 2 guys in your league that just has like 3 of the top 20 receivers in the league and then just figures the rest out. And I'm always jealous of that team.
So
it's so sexy, you know? It's just like having fun. 3 sports cars and like no minivan.
Yeah,
totally. But it's awesome.
I don't know what they drive in the winter.
You have to put a bike rack on your Lamborghini.
Yeah. So I want to start here with the hardest player to rank. DK, who's the hardest wide receiver for you to rank this season?
I mean, I think it's Tyreek Hill right now, just because he is it feels like a turning point in his career where he could either basically get back to like the elite level that he was 2 years ago. Obviously in 2023, he was the wide receiver 1 in points per game. Last year fell all the way down to wide receiver 35 in points per game, 20 points per game to almost 10 points per game last year.
That's like half analytics.
I mean, I'm not good at math, but it's around half as good as what he was before. And so I think there's so many questions about his health. There's so many questions about where his head's at. There's questions about the offense. There's questions about whether Tua can stay healthy. He is just the biggest wild card, I think, in this draft. And he's the type of player who, it wouldn't surprise me if we're in week 8 and he's the number 1 receiver. He's on pace for 2,000 yards again, or he's like asking to be off the team. You know what I mean? Like there's no in between. I don't know where to land on him.
Yeah. Sometimes the wide receiver cliff can drop off quick, right? It's like Keenan Allen kind of overnight. It was over. And Tyreek is one of those guys. Yeah, I agree with you, DK. I think I haven't seen enough red flags on the field for me to officially give up. Like it was one down season. The Miami offense was the worst it's been since he was on the team. Tua missed 7 games. And just like the entire offense was kind of a disaster. And Tyreek was beat up. And he's 31 years old. I still feel like if I had to lean one way, I would lean Tyreek's going to have 1,500 yards next year rather than he's going to have 900 again, I think.
And we've got him ranked a little bit above consensus. So I think we agree on that.
Right. Heifetz, wouldn't you agree? Like there's the red flags aren't that strong so far, right?
Well, I'm torn. I mean, red flags with him.
On the field.
Sure.
On top of everything else with him, there was another offseason incident with him this year. I mean, the police were called to his home by his mother-in-law. There were no charges filed or anything, but it's just like just more shit with this guy. And so, I mean, I don't think Tyreek Hill is the easiest person in the world to root for. And so when you also kind of hate rooting, and then you watch him play football, and also the Dolphins are awful. Anytime Tua gets hurt, the team is honestly as horrific an offense as there is in the NFL when Tua is out. And then I don't know. Frankly, just everything about it. I mean, Tyreek Hill himself is saying that like he has to earn his. I mean, he was a captain on the team. Frankly, the Dolphins have a crisis of leadership on the team because they have Tyreek Hill was a captain who wanted to trade after the season is over. Jalen Ramsey was a captain on the team who wants to trade even more than Tyreek Hill does. Jalen Ramsey still wants to trade. Teron Armstead was the left tackle, was a captain, and he retired. And then Calais Campbell left. Like, all the captains on this team are gone. And so Tyreek Hill's like, yeah, I have to earn it back. And then on top of it, you're like, he's the all-time speed guy in the NFL history, probably Tyreek Hill. But speed guys are the ones that when they hit that 30, 31-year-old thing, it's not Devontae Adams where you're winning with like technique and polish and route running and savvy, I guess, for lack of a better term. It's like Kelsey can win when he's slow. It's like Tyreek Hill. It's like, what does slower Tyreek Hill look like? I don't know what that will be. What does Tyreek Hill 87% of his top speed look like? I don't know what that's going to be. But overall, I'm like, I'm kind of done with this dude, not going to lie.
I mean, that's fair. It's a risk, I'd say. He's one of the bigger risks early on in your draft that you can take. It's obviously, there's a potential for it to pay off really strong. But then there's
again,
also...
You're now getting him at like the end of the second, beginning of the third, where I think the risk is removed there.
To me,
not removed, but it's lesser for sure.
I put him in that other bucket. So we said the top 12 or whatever, and I'll just list the guys again because it's unbelievable. Someone has to be the 9th guy in this list, which I think is funny. But Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, I think that's a tier. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Brian Thomas for the Jags, Malik Neighbors for the Giants, Nico Collins, who, led the league in receiving yards when he got hurt last year, Puka Nacua on the Rams, A.J. Brown on the Eagles, Ladd McConkey in the Chargers, 200 receiving yards in the playoffs, Drake London in the Falcons, who quietly was like a top 3 receiver, I think, when Michael Penix took over, Mike Evans, who somehow got to 1,000 yards again, Tyree McLaurin, who revived with Jaden Daniels. That's like 13 to me. And if you can cut that line higher if you want to put Evans and McLaurin down. But then there's Evans, McLaurin, Tyreek Hill, T. Higgins, Devontae Adams on the Rams now, Jackson Smith and Jigba. Like, I think Tyreek is somewhere in that group, and you could convince me that he should be at the top of it. But you also could convince me Tyreek Hill should be at the absolute bottom of that group and maybe even below some other dudes. But it depends. Just the vibes are bad. That's all. The vibes, no offense to Carlos, but the vibes in Miami are horrific.
The vibes in Miami have fallen off a fucking cliff.
And the offensive line didn't get that much better. And I think that's the most important part to me with the Dolphins going into this season is I think the Dolphins did some things to improve their offensive line, like long term. I'm sorry, I don't want to butcher the pronunciation of the guard they drafted. It's Jonah Savanea. I'm sorry.
Savanea.
His name's Jonah. And he should be great. But like, it's not like the Dolphins have a great plan they brought Liam Eichenberg back, like Austin Jackson, like all the players Dolphins fans complain about are still on this offensive line, minus Teron Armstead. So like, I don't know if Miami's going to be able to run the ball. I feel like people are going to be mad. So I don't know. Kind of out of Tyreek Hill.
Poor Carlos.
Craig.
Sorry, Carlos.
Because he just could be one of those guys where the guy who doesn't pay that much attention in your draft just shows up and he's like, Tyreek Hill, 3rd round, let's do it.
And then he wins.
And he's awesome.
We joke. Shout out to my friend Andrew Rowe, who is that guy in our league who fantasy football, fantasy baseball, hasn't like seemingly watched baseball since 2016. And then ends up with the team with like Aaron Judge, Altuve, Cody Bell, everyone with Freddie Freeman, and then suddenly and then he wins. And it's like, that's this year. You're going to get Kelsey, you're going to get Tyreek Hill, you're going to get all these guys, and you're just going to win your league. So, okay. Craig, who's the hardest player for you to rank?
For me, it's Rashee Rice on the Chiefs. It's puzzling. It really is, because I feel like there are different circumstances, but the vibe heading into this year is kind of similar to Rashee Rice heading into last year, where it was like, last year it was the looming suspension, but he was coming off kind of a 1-2 month stretch where he was genuinely like the best receiver on the Chiefs. It was his rookie season, and that last like 6-7 weeks, he took off and was like a top 10 wide receiver, and everybody was like, is this real? And the people who bet on it, it paid off for the first month of the season until he got hurt. He was incredible. He was the number 3 wide receiver in fantasy through the first 3 weeks of the season, and then he tore his ACL with that weird injury where like Mahomes ran into him.
Took his knee out.
Took his knee out.
Unbelievable.
Which just ruined my fantasy season personally. But now it's kind of a similar thing where it's like there is something there's a cloud over the season. Last year it was the suspension. This year it's the injury, obviously. But you look at the numbers and you're like, man, like, he injured at week 4. It's almost going to be a year of recovery. You kind of ask the question, like, is it the role of that Rashee Rice has why he's so good? Or is it his talent? Because he basically is like, everyone's talking about who's going to be the next Travis Kelce. Is it a tight end? I think it's Rashee Rice. Like the stat lines Rashee Rice is putting up, the way they use him is these like easy routes, get the ball in his hand early. The week before he got hurt, he had 14 targets, 12 catches, 110 yards, and a touchdown.
It's all like
Travis
crossing routes.
Kelce-ass stat.
It's like crossing routes over the middle of the field where he runs and catches. Yeah.
And I'm kind of like, man, I know we always don't like to get the guy after the injury, but with this one, I'm like, sometimes the injury's early enough where I'm like, he had a year rest. And I'm like, if he's just still getting these like easy, tailored targets in this offense, could he just jump right back to being a top 10 wide receiver? We have him ranked all over the place. I have him 46th. Yeah. Heifetz, you have him 88th. You have him 40 spots below me. And I get the injury thing. I know you also have to factor in like Xavier Worthy starting to become a thing. Marquise Brown is there. There's more going on. So it's very hard for me. I can see it going both ways.
I was going to add that too, Craig, is that they're continuing to invest in wide receivers after, and I think there's just the bottom line is you can't really trust Rashee Rice right now. With the legal stuff still hanging over his head. Mm-hmm. But they drafted Xavier Worthy in the first round last year, and he definitely played, I think, a lot better than some people thought he would. Hollywood Brown, they re-signed him. He's still around. Not that he's like a big threat to Rashee Rice, but he's still around. Mm-hmm. And then Jalen Royals, who got a lot of comps to Rashee Rice prior to the draft, comes in, and he's essentially a piece of insurance for the Chiefs if Rashee Rice if he's not healthy or if he's not able to play.
And the Chiefs have a long history of doing that too. I mean, frankly, the Chiefs' legal issues with the receivers. I mean, they drafted Mecole Hardman purely because they thought Tyreek Hill might be suspended for longer than he eventually was. And to be clear, and Rashee Rice, to be clear, never did get suspended, but it's just been this looming thing ever since that.
They have a whole bunch of guys like Rashee Rice, like Juju Smith-Schuster's still there.
Well, they have a bunch of guys that should be playing, I mean, so to speak, in the slot that should be like working in the middle of the field, like the Rashee Rice and Hollywood Brown and Marquise Brown. And these are all, especially, but they don't have even like a Josh Reynolds, they could use some kind of boundary receiver. They just don't have it. And so they have a bunch of duplicative pieces. Or is that the right word? That's not what duplicative
Redundant.
Means. Redundant pieces. I don't know what I'm saying.
Duplicative, I think, counts.
I think that works.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Well,
good job.
Doesn't really work if you doubt it.
He's like, oh.
I'm not used to his positivity and support.
I gotta see about the Rashee Rice injury. I kind of want to learn more about that.
He's back at OTAs.
I mean, he's practicing already.
Right now.
But to your point, I agree though, because like the timing of the injury, I mean, also the nature of the injury does matter. Like if it's early enough in the season, like the 3 months getting to recover for 9 or 12 months does matter in terms of whether you are good enough to be an exceptional NFL athlete by week 1. Like it does matter sometimes. So we'll see. But I agree. I don't know where to rank Rashee Rice at all.
His target share the first month of the season was 34%, meaning Patrick Mahomes, 34% of the targets thrown to pass catchers went to Rashee Rice, which would be number 1 in the NFL. Like they used him and throw the ball to him so much that I'm like, man, us putting him at wide receiver 30, like it could be one of those week 1s where he has 9 catches for 87 yards and a touchdown. And you're like, oh, this was obvious.
So I want to do the 6 to midnight, the bonk guys, the guys you're too horny for. Craig, who is a player you're too horny for this season?
Is it possible to say I'm too horny for literally the best player in fantasy? Because I am. It's Ja'Marr Chase. I said it coming out of last year. I've never had him on a fantasy team, and I was like, I will do everything in my power to draft. I don't care if I have to overspend. And maybe that's stupid. That's what I wanted to ask you guys about. To me, when I think of like an ideal environment for a wide receiver in fantasy football, Ja'Marr Chase has it. This year, he's directly in his prime. He's 25. He has a great quarterback who doesn't run.
Who's also his college quarterback.
Who also is, right.
They have
who has the chemistry.
They've been playing together for, I mean, we're coming up on like 7 years of Burrow and 6,
it's like
7
this
years.
is going to go down as one of the all-time duos.
Yeah.
There's a great number 2 wide receiver on the team to kind of limit double teams. There's no strong tight end or strong running game to kind of like threaten red zone production or touchdowns. The defense sucks, so they're always in shootouts. The only thing I could think would be better is if they played in a dome. They play outside. But I'm like, man, outside of that, like you cannot build a more perfect situation for a receiver in fantasy. But I want to ask you guys, is it fundamentally stupid for me to draft a guy
to Chase,
who last year had the best year of his career? I mean, Ja'Marr Chase had the best year since Cooper Kupp's Triple Crown in fantasy last year. It's been the best season since. Is that dumb to be like, he's going to do that again? Because they never do.
Right.
I don't think so. Ja'Marr Chase, I think the point is Ja'Marr Chase is 25 years old. Like we don't talk about it enough. Ja'Marr Chase and Justin Jefferson are the 2 best receivers of the decade. Like the 2020s, like the best 2 receivers are Ja'Marr Chase and Justin Jefferson. They happen to be teammates in college, which is weird. But I mean, if you just look at Ja'Marr Chase's first 60 games in his career, the only players who had more like fantasy points in the first 60 games of their career are like Odell Beckham, Randy Moss, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Jerry Rice, Julio Jones. Like, it's just a list of the best receivers ever. Like, it's a list of like the extended Mount Rushmore. Julio, Jerry Rice, like fucking Randy Moss. And the players with more touchdowns through 60 games to start a career are Randy Moss, Rob Gronkowski, and Jerry Rice. And then Jamar Chase is fourth. Like, he's legitimately just one of the, Jamar Chase is on path to be one of the 12 best receivers in the history of the NFL, as is Justin Jefferson.
I know. My reaction to Craig, to everything you just said is that no, it's not crazy, but like mainly it's funny. It's funny to me because that you're talking about his situation being so great, which it is. They're undoubtedly a great situation, but Jamar Chase is also just that guy. Like he is like almost an ideal receiver in every way, other than like maybe he's not like super tall, but he's really strong, really explosive, wins at the catch point, can get deep. You know, he is like built in a lab to play receiver. I think he's going to go down as one of the best receivers of all time. And so like banking on him having, the exact same season as next year is probably, or as last year is probably not smart, but as long as he's healthy, I think he's going to be producing like big time numbers.
We talked about this in the run up to the draft for that year where Jamar Chase is like I remember growing up, my favorite combo in the NFL was Larry Fitzgerald and Anquan Boldin at receiver, which felt like a mix of Chase and Higgins almost. But honestly, Jamar Chase has some of the best qualities of Larry Fitzgerald and Anquan Boldin together. Like I don't know if he's quite as fast as like peak Larry Fitz, like when he was like young. But
I think he is.
He probably is actually.
Yeah.
But like he has more physicality than Larry Fitzgerald did. Like I think he is closer to Boldin in the physicality.
He's crazy
that, like,
strong.
Stockiness, lower body strength.
And I think that and Chase is probably a notch below. I think Calvin Johnson, Larry Fitzgerald are the two best high point catch receivers I've ever seen. And I think DeAndre Hopkins probably is like second tier. Chase is probably closer to that. But like it's in the conversation. I think that's the other funny thing about Chase and Jefferson is like in terms of high pointing the football. I mean, oh my God, like it's Jefferson. And the other guy in the conversation is T. Higgins. So there's everything you want with Jamar Chase. And also he's only 16 years old.
I know.
25.
That's crazy.
And I think he's a real 25. We got to see. Is he actually going to be 26? Let me check.
No, I think his birthday already passed.
I agree. Yeah, March 1, he turned 25. That's great.
He's genuinely like, I told you guys that this is why I was upset that I came out against the Bengals last year, because I feel like I didn't make it clear enough that Jamar Chase is like my favorite, like non-giant. Like Jamar Chase, when I got mad a couple years ago, the first thing I did was flip Saquon for Jamar Chase. So he's unbelievable. DK, who is your player you're too horny for?
I mean, we don't have to go down the list very far here. It's CeeDee Lamb. I think
don't
CeeDee
go
Lamb.
down a limb here. We like
the next guy.
I know. Well, I think it's the same story. It's basically a very similar kind of, I guess, narrative to what Craig was saying. Is like, are we betting that he's going to recreate what he's been doing the last couple of years? You know, with on a team that has more weapons now. With Pickens is in town. A new head coach, like there's going to be a lot of differences in this offense. Like, how do we feel about Dak Prescott? But I still just think like having CeeDee Lamb on your team, it's not quite to the level of Jamar Chase. Like Jamar Chase, it feels like you're invincible. CeeDee Lamb, if he's like in your lineup, you're like, I'm winning. You know what I mean? Like I'm not going to lose. And I think there's a world in which I think Pickens actually really helps CeeDee. Because it gives it's like stretches the way that teams have to play defense against you. It helps them out in the middle of the field. You know, I think Pickens is going to create some gravity on the outside. And so CeeDee just gobbling up targets in the middle of the field obviously has a ton of chemistry with Dak. He's the number one guy on that offense, even though he was saying it's him and Pickens 1B, 1A. Not true. I just think he has a chance to absolutely go nuclear again this year, and I'm just going to be trying to get him as much as possible. And again, I know I'm not going out on a limb here, but like CeeDee Lamb is just, he has that cool factor.
It does feel like because of last year's disappointing season in Dallas, it feels like CeeDee honestly probably should just be on par price-wise with Jamar Chase. Yeah. You can probably get him for like $3 to $5 cheaper, and it is just like the same thing as Jamar Chase in terms of like volume and skill and talent and ceiling.
Yeah, I hate the Cowboys, but CeeDee Lamb's pretty sick. He's unbelievable. Craig, do you agree with DK like that George Pickens is going to be helping CeeDee?
I do agree that he's going to be helping CeeDee, but if we go to our next category here, which is the hipster, where it's the player everybody loves that you don't, I'm going to pick George Pickens there. Not saying that, I don't know if everybody's like on board with this, but I do think the general vibe coming out of that trade was like, this is great for Pickens. This is great for the Cowboys. Good job. They needed a second wide receiver. That's fair. You know, I think part of the reason why the Steelers got rid of Pickens is like, one, it was a contract year, and would he be pissed playing second fiddle to DK Metcalf? Well, welcome to Dallas, buddy. You're next to CeeDee Lamb, like the best wide receiver in the league. I think CeeDee's going to get a ton of targets, and Pickens is probably going to be pissed by like week 3. And they're going to use him as like Michael Gallup. And it's like he's going to have games where he has 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. And he's going to have games where he has like 2 catches for 9 yards. And I don't know if he's like capable of being that mature. He reminds me, we just did a rewatchables on the movie Out for Justice, starring Steven Seagal, and with Bill and Kyle Brandt. Really funny. I recommend it. And there was an anecdote in it. First of all, Steven Seagal, not a good dude, but man, a true unicorn in Hollywood. Like if you just like
one of the all-time weirdos.
If like quick back, like he was the jiu-jitsu instructor for Michael Ovitz, the guy who started CAA, and Mike Ovitz was basically like, I'm going to make you a movie star for shits and giggles because I'm bored. And it worked. And for like 10 years, Seagal was like a real action star that people thought was cool, and he made a lot of money.
Yeah.
But the movies are terrible, but they're so terrible that they're kind of fun. But anyway, on this movie Out for Justice, the co-stars, the villain guy, was so good in the movie while filming it that Seagal was so mad that this guy was so awesome and was like genuinely nailing his role that he went to the director and was like, we have to cut some of his scenes, William Forsythe. He's like, he's stealing my thunder. I don't want that. Even though he was a better actor and made the movie better, I kind of see the same thing with the Cowboys, where it's like, CeeDee Lamb is better than me. He's a better wide receiver, and he helps us win by throwing him the ball more. And Pickens ain't going to be down with that. And I do think that there's a potential kind of blow up drama possibility here with Pickens in Dallas.
Yeah, I think first of all, that sentence score got me. I think you're the first person to ever compare George Pickens to Steven Seagal. But no, it's kind of like a don't invade Russia in the winter. Don't fight anyone at a bar with cauliflower ear, and don't take any receivers that Mike Tomlin has given up on. Like, who is the last person to be like, yeah, this talented Steelers receiver is just like available for cheap. That's going to go great. So
Emmanuel Sanders left the Pittsburgh Steelers and had a career year with the Broncos.
That's fair. So we're 1 for 8, basically.
What are the other ones? Chase Claypool, Martavis Bryant, Antonio Brown.
Antonio Brown is a special case, but yeah.
Yeah, he was better than all of the other ones. And then Tom Brady couldn't figure that shit out.
I mean, I think that's untrue, because Antonio Brown was good when he was playing. He was just too crazy to do anything else.
That's the point. Like, they literally,
they're so fucking different. Pickens versus Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown was way further.
Not when he left the Steelers.
I'm saying he's way further into his career.
Okay, fair, but no one had the perception of how crazy Antonio Brown. No one's even close to how crazy he was when he was on Pittsburgh. No one had any idea how nuts he was.
I think the point is, generally, for whatever reason, when the Steelers give up on a wide receiver, it's usually for a good reason.
I think that's probably true. And honestly, like, I understand all the points you guys are making, but I think it's like punishing Pickens for what Martavis Bryant did, what Antonio Brown did, what all these other guys did, I think is a little bit unfair, because I think, I don't know. I guess I'm just like, I think he's going to work out. For some reason, I have faith that he's going to work out in Dallas. I think it's a good landing spot for him. Like, of all the places he could have landed, this one makes sense. And like, I do understand the idea that he's going to be pissed at CeeDee Lamb. And that's a great analogy that you made with Seagal. But like, the quarterback upgrade, I think, is going to be good enough where he's going to be happy enough with what he's getting. In other words, like, if you look at the list of quarterbacks that he's played with, like, Pickens with the Steelers, like, and their offense has always been really fucking dysfunctional.
Yeah.
Like Kenny Pickett, Mitchell Trubisky, Mason Rudolph, Russell Wilson, Justin Fields. Did he play with Roethlisberger for a year? I can't remember.
No.
Whatever. If he did, it was really late career Roethlisberger. So I don't know. I just think getting it, getting
even
him with
Georgia,
a quarterback.
Stetson Bennett. He isn't had a good quarterback.
Yeah. So look, I put Pickens as one of my sleepers. I actually think I think the perception is going a little overboard with him. I do go in with a little bit of trepidation that he's just too much of a head case and maybe this isn't going to work out. I think that's perfectly valid to like be worried about that. But if you look at the fit, I think it's going to be CeeDee and Pickens. They're the top 2 guys. They're going to get fed a huge amount of targets. And I actually saw this from Warren Sharp. Like, if you look at the heat maps of where the targets come from for both CD and Pickens, if you overlay them, it's like that's the whole field because Pickens is getting all his targets on the outside, go routes, vertical routes. He does. I think he's actually pretty good at some of the other routes. He's underrated. He's not just like a deep ball guy. But like he's obviously very good on go routes and outside stuff. And by the way, Dak is also very good at making those throws.
Dak is a great quarterback for Pickens. I'll give you that.
I kind of just feel like maybe this is me just being what's the word where like I just want to go against what you guys are saying. But,
no, I mean,
contrarian.
The whole category is that I think people agree with you, DK.
Oh, okay.
Like this is the hipster choice because I do think that everybody is agreeing with your perspective on this, and I'm kind of trying to go against the grain.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's certainly fair to the giving up on. Like when Tomlin gives up on a person, that's a huge red flag. That's true. But also I think, I don't know, this specific scenario, every human being is different. I think in this specific scenario, I don't know. I'm just kind of bullish on Pickens. Maybe I'm being
And again,
negative.
It's a contract year for Pickens. So unless the Cowboys, and maybe they'll pay him the day of the season begins, but like probably not.
He's our wide receiver 33. I just feel like, I don't know. I'm willing to take a bet on him at around that range.
It's all over the place. Anything could happen. You're right. If Dallas is good and the offense is firing, there's probably enough targets to go around for Pickens to succeed. But like you also could see them losing a game or winning a game in week 3. Pickens has 3 catches for 20 yards and is fucking pissed in the press conference.
Yeah.
Bill Barnwell had a column this week for ESPN. Shout out Bill, who said Pickens probably has as wide a range of potential outcomes for the season as any player. I think that's true. You would be hard pressed to find 3 players who you could plausibly believe like Pickens could have a Kadarius Toney. Pickens could not be playing football by week 9. Pickens also could just be like Pickens and CD could be top 5 in receiving yards by week 9. I would not be shocked by either of those things.
Totally.
So, okay. My hipster thing of just like the player team that everyone loves that I'm kind of like, I don't know. This is fucked up, but my one is Malik Neighbors.
Oh,
for the Giants, my beloved, kind of hated Giants.
This is just protecting his own
Yeah, I think this is like self-preservation.
You're protecting your mental health here.
Yeah, this is like the ego, just like casting a spell. But I'm debating a rule this year that when you plug a receiver, you have to say end their quarterback. And so let me read you the top receiver, like the receivers you could draft in the first round this year. Let me read you this list. You could take Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. You could take CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott. You could take Justin Jefferson and J.J. McCarthy. Okay. You could take Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jared Goff. You could take Brian Thomas and Trevor Lawrence. You could take Malik Neighbors and Russell Wilson, Nico Collins and C.J. Stroud, Puka Nacua and Matt Stafford. Which of those stuck out to you?
Yeah.
And I think that's just my fear is like, again, the week 1 test. How long into one game of Russell Wilson sucking would you be like, I should not have taken Malik Neighbors?
I think that's all very fair, but may I point you in the direction of last year?
That is the argument against it, yes.
Is it worse than last year? Malik Neighbors was 2nd in the NFL in targets last year.
He was leading the league in catches. He got concussed. The Giants genuinely leaned on Malik Neighbors more to start a career than any player probably in the history of the NFL. Like he led the league in catches 2 weeks into his career. That's like unprecedented for a rookie to be leading the league in catches like that. So yeah, and again, it's not like Russell Wilson. He actually can throw to the areas of the field where they had Malik Neighbors running around. So I'm not actually saying don't draft Malik Neighbors. I'm just saying if you had to pick which one of these could not work out and you feel stupid about it, that's the one. Like if Brian Thomas loses snaps to Travis Hunter and Travis Hunter's better than Brian Thomas, you're like, oh, that hard to see coming. Like if Puka Nacua gets hurt, you're like, oh, maybe I should have. But if Russell Wilson and the Giants suck, you're going to feel stupid. That's all.
I have the worst fucking attorneys. You got to have good attorneys.
That's all I'm saying. I'm still saying Malik Neighbors is a good player. You should take him high.
Do you think the passing environment this year will be better or worse than last year?
Just different.
I was actually
neither better nor worse.
For some reason, I felt like there was like a lot of rumors this offseason that the Giants were going to pick up some big receiver. Was it Pickens maybe that they're interested in?
Well,
I can't remember.
Stafford, that was the big one. The rumor was that the Giants were going to trade for Stafford when we were at the Combine, and I think they were trying.
Oh, but maybe it was just talk of like them taking Travis Hunter or something. But like, I'm looking at the Giants receiving core right now, and my God, it is really something.
I don't care about that. Like, I'm fine. I have no problem if you're building an NFL team to deal with that.
No, I'm not. What my point, I guess, is that they're going to be forced to feed Malik Neighbors again.
It's Devontae Adams Packers-esque.
Here's the depth at the receiver position for the Giants. Darius Slayton is the number 2 ostensibly. He's fine. I think
they just gave Saquon's money to $12 million a year. That was the Saquon deal. Yeah. He signed with the Eagles.
Then you got Wan'Dale Robinson, who's not really a receiver. Zach Pascal.
What do you mean he's not really a receiver? Because he's small?
He's like a running back.
He had like 96 catches last year.
I know. Okay, but he's not a real receiver.
I agree. I agree.
He's a slot.
I hate the Wan'Dale casting. Drives me crazy. Back. If you watch the Giants, literally every defensive strategy is just make him check down to Wan'Dale because he will tackle him short of the sticks, and it's every third down is what happens.
Jalen Hyatt, who did not work out, Amir Smith-Marset, Bryce Ford Wheaton, Montrell Washington, Lil Jordan Humphrey, Daquan Felton, Juice Wells, Jordan Bly, Bo Collins, Jalen Camry.
You're just making names up.
Yeah, I'm just
Bo Collins is Benson Boone's he's the bassist for Benson Boone.
Juice Wells?
Juice Wells.
Don't know him.
Juice Wells sounds Jr. like Keith Richards' drug dealer.
Juice Wells.
He was doing jujitsu with
That sounds like
Seagal.
a character in Friday Night Lights.
Yeah.
Bryce Ford Wheaton. Wasn't he the super fast guy?
He was the West Virginia undrafted free agent who tore his ACL. Though we were actually at Craig's wedding talking about with his friend Chris, and we were sitting there talking about Bryce Ford Wheaton for the Giants.
Heifetz, if your sole purpose was to give Malik Neighbors the best fantasy season possible,
Jameis Winston plays weeks 1 to 17 and throws him the ball 40% of the time.
Who's last?
Dart.
Okay.
It has to be Dart because Dart. I mean, it doesn't matter. I think Russ. I actually think Russ can. I mean, Neighbors is better than DK Metcalf, and DK Metcalf. I mean, Neighbors is better than DK Metcalf. I'm sorry, and so
100%. Neighbors is. I feel like Neighbors is extremely good. Like if Malik Neighbors was on a real team, he would be.
I think Neighbors is potentially a top 6 receiver. Like to be clear, I'm not saying Neighbors is bad. I'm simply giving you permission.
Sure.
Like we have Malik Neighbors ranked really high. We have Neighbors ranked 11th. You could convince me you could take him 6th if you want. I'm just giving you permission. If you want to take Nico Collins, Puka Nacua, Brock Bowers, AJ Brown over Neighbors, because you're like, I don't want to watch Russell Wilson 17 weeks or whatever, and then Dart. Like, I totally get that. That's all I'm saying. Like, you're going to spend a lot of time with this Giants offense we've made fun of for 6 fucking years for not being able to score. Like, yeah, that kind of sticks out in these first round teams. That's all I'm saying. Sleepers. Craig, give me a sleeper at receiver for the season.
Juwan Jennings on the Niners. I just love this guy. I picked him up last year. He was fantastic. When Ayuk went down, Deebo was not the same guy last year. Juwan Jennings was just like the most reliable receiver on the team outside of outside of Kittle. And Purdy loved him. Niners fans call him third in Juwan. He's incredibly reliable. And he became the most clutch player on the team. He had an incredibly high target share when he was on the field last year. Like they threw to him a lot. Deebo's gone. Ayuk's coming back from this brutal knee injury. Kittle's in his 30s. I just think he's like a very unsexy, like a name that nobody really talks about, but he's super productive and will probably outperform wherever he gets drafted this year.
Yeah, I like this one a lot. I think it's one of those things where it took him a while to get going, but he's always been someone who's on my radar because I've always thought he's like pretty good. He just landed with the 49ers team. I think he was undrafted or late round. It was like 6th or 7th round. Pick. He was a guy I had on my radar coming out of Tennessee. He was like one of the best run after the catch players in college football. And that is obviously always the 49ers MO is like get guys who can catch the ball and run after catch, just beast mode after the catch. And Juwan Jennings is absolutely that guy. But I think it just took him a while to get established. And so now people are not believing that it's real. And it might not be real, I guess, but like because they have Ayuk and Pearsall. But I mean, at the end of the day, the fact is he is like their number 1 receiver right now. And he's probably going to continue to be that until Ayuk is fully healthy. And that might not even be this year. We
have this, we always talk about this, but you're just basically anchored to whatever your perception of a player was coming into the league. Mm-hmm. So one of the reasons I think Brock Purdy took so long to accept Brock Purdy was like an average starting quarterback Niners fans are going to lose their fucking minds, above average, whatever the fuck you want to say, was that he was Mr. Irrelevant. It's just like we weren't expecting him to be good. If he had been taken first overall, we probably would have said Purdy was good, but he was taken last instead of first, so it took a long time. I think similarly, like Juwan Jennings being a like 217th overall or whatever Juwan Jennings was, you're just mentally, like there's a block to accepting that he's just as good as the numbers.
It takes twice as long to earn it.
Yeah, Amon-Ra St. Brown had that problem where he just was like the best receiver in fantasy for the final 6 weeks of his season, and then just wasn't a top 50 pick because people were like, is that real? And I think that's a really good thing to identify, Craig, that like Juwan, if he had been a second round pick and had the same year, we'd be like really hyping him up, but you're almost getting a discount because he's the first 3 seasons of his career. He had like 900 yards.
100%.
Funnily enough, my sleeper this year is the guy that Juwan's kind of not quite replacing, but Deebo Samuel for the 49ers, who was traded to Washington. I just frankly am betting that, like, I just think everyone thinks Deebo is completely washed, and I actually think there's upside. I'm not saying 2021 when Deebo Samuel had, briefly reinvented football by playing running back or whatever, but Deebo straight up had his production cut in half when he got pneumonia. Like Deebo Samuel was playing, they were playing the Chiefs, and 30 minutes before kickoff, they were like, he has fluid in his lungs, and they sent Deebo to the hospital, and Deebo was in the hospital for 3 days. DK, you had pneumonia. Yeah. How long after you were diagnosed with pneumonia could you walk up the steps and not be winded? How long did it take you?
It took me a solid month to feel like normal again. You know what I mean?
How long did it take you to get back out there on the professional football field?
Yeah, it took me a month and a half to get back out on the field and really playing at my potential. Yeah. Pneumonia is fucking terrible. I just like, for people that haven't had it, that is the like sickness I've had, the worst sickness I've ever had. It was the first time in my life where I was like, starting to feel like I could die. You know what I mean? Like, this is like what it feels like when you're dying. It's a very terrible feeling. It's a very terrible disease. It's like you can't breathe. It feels like really you're like someone's standing on your chest, and then you're coughing your fucking lungs out. And you're getting like fevers and all this shit. Pneumonia sucks.
So Deebo toughs it out, returns to play football 4 days after he gets out of the hospital, and then Craig starts calling him fat.
Yeah. Look, in my defense, he did look a little thick, and it's my job to report on
Probably
that.
the lack of cardio from the pneumonia. But my point is, I'm just
because he can't get out of bed.
I'm just buying the dip on the pneumonia. Again, Bardwell had this great stat that Deebo ESPN has their own different way they measure yards after catch, yak. And Deebo ranked first and second the last 4 years.
No, I think this is a great call, Heifetz. I do agree with you. I think this is a perfect guy to kind of buy the dip on.
Yeah.
And to be clear, I'm not saying Deebo is going to crack that like incredible top 12 group, but on a week-to-week basis with Washington, Jaden Daniels, Cliff Kingsbury, I just think you're getting incredible value. Like Deebo, we have Deebo 67th, and I think I'm dragging that up. I think he's probably going to be like, Deebo's going to be like the 8th player you take. That's incredible.
There's a slight fear, I feel like. He's 29. That's like, and he is a guy who relies on physicality, and he's been really beat up his whole career. Like, there is a chance that if it's not there, you will know immediately.
Yeah. But contract here.
Ooh.
I like this one. I remember like Deebo in his heyday. Obviously, it didn't last very long, but Deebo, when he was in his prime,
unstoppable,
was one of the coolest players I've ever seen.
Yes.
I don't think I've ever seen a receiver break tackles like him ever.
Yeah.
I think he's number one.
And schematically, the things they could do with him in terms of like, you're coming out on the field in whatever, a 3-receiver set, and then they're lining him up at running back. It like changes the math. It changes the calculations for a defense. So he can really fuck with, what the defense is expecting. And they're going to be, I bet you they will run like a lot of essentially 2 running back sets with Deebo, motioning into the backfield, doing stuff like that.
Or better yet, honestly, what really cooks is the fucking 0 running back sets.
Totally.
And
because then you get like a light defensive look. You have,
and then you're just running option with Deebo and Jaden Daniels.
Totally.
And it's
Jaden Daniels. God damn, this is gonna be so much fun to watch. I really hope he's healthy.
Also, it's
I really hope he's in shape.
It's just McLaurin, pretty much outside of him. It's like Noah Brown, you have Zach Ertz. It's like KJ Osborne. There's not a lot. And
the running back group is honestly not that strong either. Like Brian Robinson, definitely just like a downhill guy. Austin Eckler over his peak for sure. And so the reason I brought up the running back stuff is like I could see them using him as a running back because part of the reason Deebo fell off from a fantasy point of view is because they traded for fucking CMC and he was just the running back. You don't need to do Deebo Samuel running back stuff when you have Christian McCaffrey. So I don't know. I had him written down later too, Heifetz. I really am interested. I think you can get him at a huge discount to what he was before. And the upside is just so tantalizing.
I'll go to Washington camp this summer and I'll report whether Deebo looks winded.
There we go.
Up. There's like a hill they have to walk up, and I'll just like watch him walk up the hill. We'll see.
Measure his waist like you're fitting him for a suit.
Oh, that's good. You can go undercover.
Yeah.
That was a funny thing. There's the Bengals beat was talking about that. T. Higgins, some guy.
Every time he walks up the hill.
No, it was Andrew Cooper. Someone.
Oh, yeah.
What'd you say?
It was like if he walked up a hill, that means he's healthy.
If he ran up the hill, he was playing that week. And if he walked, he was not going to be active. And someone just figured that out. Some Bengals reporter, I don't remember who was taking a video of him going up, but then a fantasy person figured out, which is like insane.
That's amazing.
And then he started taking a different route.
Yeah, and then he
at the beginning of practice. He's like, fuck you guys.
Dude, that's like Chad Johnson. Someone blew it. Someone, I don't remember, like cornerbacks sometimes will call each other to figure out how to guard a receiver. It's like a little fraternity they have.
Mm-hmm.
And someone was like guarding Chad Johnson in his prime, like when he was actually named Chad Johnson. And they were like, what do I do? And someone told him like, if he adjusts his gloves, he's getting the ball.
Oh man.
And it worked. And then they fucking told Chad Johnson at the end of the game.
Wow.
And they were like, what the fuck? Why did you tell him that? And then they cut the cornerback out of the little brains trust. They didn't give
It's
him any
like
tips.
poker. Like people have tells.
Yes. It was like the Oreos and rounders. It's like, why would you tell them that? It's like,
this is like, I love what this is on the side, but I love, there's a bunch of videos on like TikTok and Instagram of tells that pitchers have, depending on like what pitch they're going to,
I'm
what
upset.
pitch they're going to throw.
Tipping, it's so
cool.
You guys don't play fantasy baseball, right?
I used to.
I play fantasy baseball and I love it. And it's funny to just purely be like obsessed with fantasy, but I'm not, I barely understand how to
watch the sport that much.
Yeah. I just spend enough time that my team's great, but I just kind of bug people at the Ringer who know baseball. Yeah. But it's so funny to think like a pitcher's just getting destroyed, like I'm terrified Mackenzie Gore is going to like go against the Cubs today and just get absolutely rocked. We're recording this June 4th, by the way. So if anything's happened between now and the episode, we're recording this June 4th. But it's so funny that a pitcher can get destroyed for 9 runs. And then they're like, yeah, you know what? Maybe he's tipping his pitches. Like they might have to say, like, it's so funny thing. Maybe they just know everything that's coming. Like it's crazy.
I think that's like what's cool about baseball is something so small. I mean, I guess it's not that small, but like knowing what pitch is coming can be the difference between being the fucking worst pitcher in the majors versus like just an average pitcher, because the time that they have to decide whether they're going to swing on a pitch is like so minuscule. It's like just knowing that a fastball is coming.
Even the French Open, like the serves. I mean, who is it? Not Sinner.
There was a story. Andre Agassi wrote in his book about how, I think it was
Jim Courier, the serves.
Yeah, I can't. He was playing. That's not who he was playing. I can't remember who he was playing.
I think it was Jim Courier.
Borg.
You were talking about when he knew based on his tongue.
Yeah, he knew something based on. So
Andre Agassi could return. Also, great book. But Andre Agassi, who's the best returner in tennis history, or was, I guess, knew which side Jim Courier was going to hit the serve to, because Jim Courier, it turns out, was putting his tongue in the corner of his mouth on the left or right side, and it matched where he was going. And so his entire career, Agassi dominated Jim Courier just because he could see his fucking tongue. From
Never said a fucking word.
Told him when he retired. Jim Courier was pissed.
And the guy, Jim Courier. I guess I read it with someone different, but anyway, it doesn't matter.
Oh, maybe I'm remembering wrong. Could
it could be that, but the guy who he was playing and who Agassi dominated said after, he was like, I started to believe you were like, you had like prevision or whatever, like you were like clairvoyant or something.
Telepathic,
like he was like, I couldn't understand what the fuck was going on. I felt he could see the future or something.
I mean, imagine hitting 130 mile an hour serve and hitting the line.
Yeah.
And Agassi's just like hitting a winner back. Like, how annoying that would be.
It's so interesting that just like humans involuntarily have these tells where you're just putting your tongue on one side of your mouth without even knowing it.
Like 5 years ago, I covered, I don't know what year this was. It's probably 2019 because it must have been before COVID, but the Rams and Cowboys had a playoff game.
It was Boris Becker, Heifetz.
Boris Becker, yes, good call. And so the Rams Cowboys had a playoff game, and I was there, and it was in LA. And this is the game where the Rams ran for 230 yards on Dallas, and they just like destroyed them on the ground. And they averaged like 8 yards a carry. It was like the most in a playoff game in decades. And I went to the locker room after, and I got one of the guards to admit that they just knew the Cowboys had a tip on when they're stunting. And basically, when the defensive linemen are going to rush the guy in front of them or going to swap spots and try to confuse him. And they could just tell it was Malik Collins, actually. It was his fault. And they could tell if he puts a different hand down, they knew exactly what the quote unquote play was on the defensive line. And so the Rams got it right like 22 of 24 times. And it's like, you think about all the stuff that goes into a football game and like just they're watching tape and the center and Whitworth just figured out like, oh, we're going to call out every stunt. And they just do it. Sometimes you get sometimes you make a Super Bowl run and they almost won the Super Bowl that season. So
I can't believe that guy told Ocho Cinco.
I know. It's like, you're out, dude. You're out. Anyway.
You're out of the club.
Email us at ringerfantasyfootball@gmail.com more stories like that. Stuff like, like the tells.
Yeah, tells. Yeah.
I was just reading a little bit more about this Agassi thing. Agassi had to like pretend. He basically had to like cede certain points because he didn't want
him to figure it out.
To know that he knew.
Also a poker thing.
It's also like this just reminds me of like in World War II, like when the Allies figured out the Enigma code system that the Nazis had, they had to like let ships get sunk, even though they knew where the German like U-boat fleets were and stuff like that.
So they didn't
want the Germans to know that they knew their codes. So they essentially like have to sacrifice people. It's like, can you imagine making that decision? That'd be fucking terrible.
So I mean, but
like that kind of stuff is so fascinating in sports.
Yeah, email us at ringerfantasyfootball@gmail.com. Any examples of tells, like sports, poker, war, whatever. I'll take it.
War.
Okay. Any other sleepers anyone wants to hit, or you want to go to post-type sleepers?
Post-type?
Yeah, sure. Whatever.
I think we got to throw out the obvious one here. I think Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yes.
For the Cardinals. He's
have
the
you
new
seen his arms?
He's ripped. I got to tell you, I don't like that he's getting his arms larger. I don't know. It's your receiver, maybe.
His reach is like 3 inches shorter now.
Yeah. But I think that's the classic post-type sleeper.
Yeah.
I agree. It has to be, right? I mean, all signs point to it. He could, if there's any guy going where he's going in drafts, that could just like be the number one wide receiver in fantasy next year, it's probably him.
Yes.
Yeah. I think there was, number one, he started slow. I think there was some issues with like how fast he was playing early on. You always hear about rookies like in their second year. Now I can play fast because I know it's happening now, and I can see the game. It's like everything's slowing down for me, so I can play faster. Like, do you remember early on in the season last year where everyone was like, Marvin Harrison Jr.'s top speed was 17 miles an hour in this game or whatever, and everyone was like, Jesus, this guy's so slow.
I hate those stats.
Well, because it's context related, obviously, depending on like what type of route you're running and things like that. But I do think he was playing slow early on, and he started to like feel more comfortable in the offense later. I think the other thing that's big with Harrison is he was clearly not on the same page with Kyler in a lot of instances last year. So more experience, more work together, getting ingrained in the offense, getting on the same page. Like, this is a bit of a leap, I guess, in faith that they'll have better chemistry. But I think just playing together more, it's going to help a ton. So I think that's another big thing.
I think if you are in a league with a bunch of contrarians or like guys who are really tapped in, I think Marvin Harrison will be a pretty obvious buy low candidate. But if you're in a league that's a little bit more like guys are just having a good time, I do think the narrative is kind of out there that Marvin Harrison Jr. is like kind of a bust.
Yeah.
Or like that he's not as good as people thought. And I think there is kind of like a negative connotation associated with his name right now. So I do think you can kind of, depending on the league you're in, get him at a reasonable price.
100%.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
He's one of those rare, he's a rare situation where he was an absolutely elite prospect and he's on a team with a good quarterback. I guess if you think Kyler's good. I think he's good. He's definitely
I think he's
not
good,
bad.
but he's specific. Also, I mean, funny that we're having this conversation because Marvin Harrison Jr. had 885 yards, 33rd in the NFL, right behind George Pickens. And just 1 yard ahead of Jonnu Smith.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Any other post-type sleepers?
I want to toss out, this is not exactly a post-type sleeper, but Nico Collins and more so just like the Texans offense at large, I think I would like to nominate.
That's a good call. Yeah.
Nico's great. And when he was on the field last year, he was like basically the best wide receiver in fantasy. I don't think people think of him that way. I think if you could guarantee 17 games out of Nico Collins, like after Jamar Chase and CeeDee Lamb, I honestly think Nico could be 3 and I wouldn't have a problem with that. I don't particularly care that they have Christian Kirk and they drafted the 2 Iowa State guys, Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel at wide receiver. I kind of don't care about any of that. I think the new offensive coordinator coming from the Rams, getting Slowick out of there, I do, and year 3 for, or year 4 for Stroud. Like, I just think the Texans are going to be very good this year. and that Nico Collins is kind of operating in this kind of like silent but deadly category of wide receivers where nobody really talks about him that way. And yet I do think he is in that category.
I totally agree. We're too low on him.
CJ Stroud has got to be one of the biggest wild cards or like X factors in the NFL this season.
Well,
in terms of like guys that could go, if he goes back to what he was as a rookie, I mean, think about the upside that the Texans have. And then obviously if he continues to struggle like he did last year, and maybe that's just who he is. I don't think that's who he is, but I am a little worried. Just in the back of my mind, a little worried. You know what I mean?
I got to tell you, I'm not worried at all about CJ Stroud in terms of, I actually think he's the most obvious, and the Texans are the most obvious buy low. But then literally today, I'm going to just read from ESPN. Texans coach DeMeco Ryans said Tuesday he has, quote, no concerns, end quote, about quarterback CJ Stroud's limited throwing during spring practices due to, quote, general soreness in his shoulder. Uh-oh. And then it goes on, the Texans opened OTAs May 28th. Stroud has not thrown passes during any of the media's watching periods, which is not all of them. The most Stroud has done with the starting offense is execute handoffs to running backs during 11-on-11 walkthroughs. Ryan says he is not worried about the progression of his quarterback. There's no concerns with CJ, end quote. It's just general soreness, he says. We're taking extra precautions. We'll be good to go. You know what? I just don't like that I read that. I don't like that his general soreness in his shoulder.
I think it's fine.
I'm sure it's fine.
4th, like big
I'm
deal.
sure it's fine.
I'm sure it's fine. And
people
you guys are saying I'm sure it's fine too much. Now I'm worried.
I'm sure it's fine.
I feel like
I'm sure it's fine. It's like with DeMeco Ryans. You remember that Pro Football Talk headline that was like, DeMeco Ryans says there is absolutely no breakdown of communication in the offensive line.
It's like that really specific phrase. Yeah.
Right.
But like, what is he supposed to say? Like, if CJ Stroud's not throwing, what is DeMeco Ryans supposed to say that makes you feel better?
Literally nothing. There's nothing he can say. I just don't like that he hasn't thrown a fucking pass. Maybe this is why Rodgers went to the pyramids during OTAs.
Or counter, maybe he's been working. Maybe this is a sign that CJ Stroud has been working too hard in the offseason.
It's like Marvin Harrison, his biceps, his arms are so big.
Yeah, everyone's like, he hasn't played a game since January. It's like, well, maybe he's been working out really hard for the last 5 months.
But to your point, I think the most obvious buy lows in the NFL are the Jags and the Texans. Because frankly, the biggest thing that I'm ready to go to war about this year is Trevor Lawrence and all the people who are coming out. And I mean, honestly, Bill is really hard on Trevor Lawrence. I think a lot of people, speaking of Harrison, I think the general consensus is Lawrence is overrated. Lawrence is an overrated prospect. And I'm like, Lawrence was ruined by a horrible organization and on the precipice of it. I am very confident Liam Cohen is going to turn around Trevor Lawrence. I'm very confident Liam Cohen's going to turn on this offense. I am so ready to bet on Trevor Lawrence, but also the Texans and CJ Stroud. As someone who said, I mean, take purge in August was Bobby Sloak was going to get fired by that by the team for being offensive coordinator.
Oh, damn, did you have that take purge?
That was my take purge. It was like, everyone's like, oh, head coach. And I'm like, he's going to get fired.
Good call.
And so having said that, last year, I am not worried about CJ Stroud at all. And I'm not worried about the Texans. Like, they're going to be fine. The offensive line still needs to get better, but also they were literally uncoordinated on offense. It couldn't have been worse. So to Craig's point, we have Nico Collins ranked 12th, and honestly, we should probably have him 7th.
Yep, I have him 8th. I just think he's in that category.
I got to move him. We have to move him up. Like Nico Collins, I mean, when he pulled his hamstring after week 5, he led the league in receiving yards. Nico Collins he's another person like the Juwan Jennings thing. He just was a 3rd-round pick who didn't do much. So we don't want to tell ourselves that Nico Collins is like kind of like A.J. Brown, but he is kind of like A.J. Brown.
Also, I'd just like to shout out just the Texans in general, not even offensively. I think their defense is sick, and I think they're going to be really good, and I think they're in a bad division. On FanDuel right now, they're plus 115 to win the division, which is kind of crazy to me. Like, we have the Jags, the Colts, and the Titans.
Are the Jags the ones that are favorites now?
No, the Texans are favored, but only at plus 115. Like, you can get plus odds on the Texans to win this division. I think that's really nice.
I'll put it this way. If you look at Super Bowl odds, I think the Texans are the worst team that I think could win the Super Bowl. Like, the Texans and the Broncos are 26-1 to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's like Bucs, as low as you'll go. Yeah.
And the Bucs are 20-1. Those are the worst teams that could win the Super Bowl. Like, the Bears are 35-1. The Bears have no fucking shot to win the Super Bowl. But the Bucs, Broncos, Texans are the teams that are like, okay, and the Chargers, honestly, 20. Oh, actually, I'm put this on my tattoo list. I will not believe in the Chargers until they fire Greg Roman. Or Greg Roman demonstrates he can have any sort of passing game that works in the playoffs. So, but that's the only thing missing for the Chargers.
Every year, there's always something with the Chargers. Every year, it's like, well, next year.
Greg Roman, he's like the he's like the Thibodeau. I still can't pronounce. He's my coach for 5 years. I can't pronounce his name still. But like, it's like Kirk Cousins, Thibodeau, Greg Roman. The floor's competency is so high.
Yeah.
But then the ceiling is a huge question mark. It's like you can establish this competency and like physicality immediately. But then like, where's this going to go? So anyway, other sleepers. DK, who's your post-type sleeper?
So I feel like he actually is a very good post-type sleeper. And I don't
hyping up your own pick.
I'm not going to say this with my complete chest or whatever. Like I'm not fully on board with this, but I do think he fits this category well, and I want to believe Garrett Wilson of the Jets.
Ooh,
feels like his ceiling is a superstar receiver. I think he has the talent to be a superstar receiver. The beginning of his career has gone really wonky because of he's on the Jets, weird quarterback situations, et cetera, et cetera. But, and then I think
those things have changed, so that's cool.
I think a lot of people are downgrading him even more because of what he did his first 3 years, and now they have Justin Fields as the quarterback.
Because he's still on the Jets and it's still a weird quarterback situation.
Right. I actually had completely
they're going to throw
forgotten
the least
this,
passes in the league next year.
Yeah, but let me get to that. I just think it's kind of cool and interesting, and it at least piques my interest that Fields was his college quarterback. I kind of had forgotten that. They played together for 2 years at Ohio State. Obviously, Fields fed him in that offense. Obviously, they had a ton of really good receivers in his time there. But they have that connection. They have that background. And importantly, he is the only receiver on this team. Like he has essentially zero competition.
The New York
for
teams
targets.
between Neighbors and the Giants guys and the Garrett Wilson and the Jets guys is crazy.
Josh Reynolds is the number 2. Do you remember where Josh Reynolds was playing last year?
He ended up on the Lions, I think.
He was playing for Jacksonville.
Lions, went to the Jags?
He hasn't been with the Lions. That was 3 teams ago, Heifetz.
Christ.
Really?
He was on. So he went to the Jets this offseason with Jacksonville last year. Before that, he was with Denver.
Dude, I had
before that,
no
he was
memory
with Detroit.
of him on the Jags.
The Jags, I
don't think he played much for them. Regardless, he's ostensibly their number 2. They also have Tyler Johnson, who they picked up from the Rams. Alan Lazard is on the team currently. I would guess he's not going to be on the team to start the season because he's going to go to wherever Aaron Rodgers ends up.
He might also, just so you know, none of the players you're talking about are under contract next year either. The only players the Jets have under contract for next season are Garrett Wilson and Malachi Corley, who is a gadget player drafted by the previous regime who had 4 catches as a rookie.
He's like in that Wandale category of like not a real receiver.
Not a real player.
I was very low on him. Maybe he will develop and come on, but he didn't do jack shit as a rookie. And it's because he's not a very good route runner. And he's just essentially a gadget guy. He's done
because the old GM was like, we should take Malachi Corley, and then Malachi Corley had 4 catches, and then that guy got fired. So like, it's just Garrett Wilson. It's the only receiver they have.
My point is, yes, they're going to be a run-heavy team. I think that's going to be their identity. However, DJ Moore did really well relative to like what we were expecting for the Bears in 2023 when Fields was the primary quarterback for most of the season, and they were very run heavy. It was like an option offense. It was the Navy offense that we were talking about. He still finished as the wide receiver 10 that year. Mm-hmm. And I think Garrett Wilson is a better all around receiver than DJ Moore. Or at least he has a higher potential. I think
we need to do a like a power ranking of the receivers with shitty environments that we're willing to overlook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
because that's always how it goes in fantasy. Is there's like, man, there's no like, there's like that they got to throw to somebody. There's always like that guy. There's always like, man, he's like so talented, even though the situation's terrible. Like that's going to win out.
This is the Breaking Bad meme. This is like future us as Walter White in the car, just screaming like, "Dang, no!"
It's tough.
It's the Tobias Funke. Like it could work for us.
Yeah, it's like Neighbors, Garrett Wilson. We're like, these teams suck. The quarterback things are going to drive their fan bases crazy. But you know how many targets he's going to get? And it's
but
like,
that does work
you're not gonna
sometimes.
It does work sometimes, but also I think I'm trying to be more cognizant this year of, am I going to enjoy this journey? And I just think the Jets and Giants are the two obvious
that's
teams.
not this category. Don't go for Garrett Wilson if you want to enjoy your life.
To your point, I almost wonder if Garrett Wilson is the arbitrage Malik Neighbors of, do you want a New York-based receiver whose fan base is going to go insane watching their quarterback situation while he gets all the targets?
Totally.
At least Garrett Wilson's going to be like 20 picks after Malik Neighbors.
I think, and again, to be clear, it's very possible this is a frustrating guy to have on your team, but I just think the potential value here, the post-hype, like basically no one's talking about him right now. I feel like he's kind of been a forgotten guy, even
definition
though
of post type.
Yeah, he's still very good, still very talented, in my opinion.
And I respect he wants to win. Like when Garrett Wilson doesn't always get mad he's not getting the ball. Garrett Wilson gets mad when they lose games, which I love actually in a receiver.
I just remember, wasn't he catching passes from Zach Wilson every time Zach Wilson would throw the ball? Just like the worst.
Well, he had the
throw I've ever seen in
interception
my life.
in the week 1. Oh yeah, remember? Like he picked the ball off.
Anyways, maybe this is part of me wanting Garrett Wilson to succeed, but I do look at the situation and reconnecting with his college quarterback. There's some things here that just have me intrigued. I'll put it that way.
What's great about Garrett Wilson, DK, is that when you are like bidding for him in a draft, no one's gonna really.
Right.
That's compete. A great point.
It's not gonna be like a big like competition.
No. It'll be like you can have him.
Unless you're an Ohio State fan.
Jason, what you're saying, Craig, about the receivers whose quarterback situations suck, willing to bet on. Garrett Wilson might be the single most talented player in a fantasy that nobody wants.
Yeah.
like the most talented person who actually will not get to that like suggested auction bid number.
He will not be discussed right after you draft him. Usually there's like some murmurs. There'll be nothing. They'll be like,
no one's going to say anything. Okay. Ricky Bobby first or last guy, someone who's we have to rank somewhere, but there's no chance they're going to end up where we rank them.
You just split the middle. Yeah.
You just got to be like, oh. And so my guy, I think possibly we might have to rename the category for this person, which is Travis Hunter, the receiver cornerback for the Jacksonville.
Did you guys
Jaguars.
see his interception in practice yesterday?
I actually didn't.
He dropped it.
I hate all the.
Was it
videos.
actually an interception or was he playing receiver in that?
He was playing corner. And he intercepted the pass, but I think. But then somebody like screenshotted it and zoomed in, like enhance, and the ball hit the ground. So,
coward
wouldn't hold it up.
We have Travis Hunter ranked 100th, the 44th receiver.
Yeah,
I feel like there's like Travis. It's so funny.
There's no way he finishes as the wide receiver 44.
No, Travis Hunter. He could average 18 fantasy points a game. He could average 18 snaps on offense per game. Like I have no idea what this is going to be. I don't know where to take him. I don't know what to do with this guy. You could literally take him nowhere and I get it. I want him, but you guys know I'm obsessed with Travis Hunter. But I think he might be the most Ricky Bobby pick ever because he might not even play fucking offense some weeks, but he also could just be the straight up best receiver on the team. And for Liam Cohen.
This is tough. It's impossiple. It's actually just impossible. You have to take a leap of faith.
If you had to guess right now, Heifetz, like how much will he go for in a draft?
Auction?
Yeah. How much would you pay?
I think would I pay? I wouldn't.
First number that came to my mind, Craig, is like 20.
No, I like $12.
I think he's going to be closer to 20. I think people are going to be excited about it.
Some people won't bid. Some people are going to be like, he's a cornerback. I don't want a cornerback. And some people are going to be like, he's so fucking sick. I think
he's generational. They've been listening to Heifetz too much.
After having Shohei Ohtani in that keeper fantasy baseball league I told you guys about, there's certain players where you're like, especially in an auction to your point, it's like, if you really think the player's fucking cool, pay $3 extra. Like, stop.
Yeah, but Shohei, you get points for his pitching and hitting.
That's true. The defense helps. But just, I would go to like $12 max. But even then, I probably shouldn't do that.
What's your gut say?
I think somebody will spend closer to 20.
Yeah.
Is my guess. I think someone's going to be like 18.
I think we'll have a much better idea of how much offense and defense he's going to play by like August 30th.
Yeah.
DK, who's your Ricky Bobby guy?
Well, I had Deebo written down here, and purely because I think the sky is the limit. Obviously, like we said, we're kind of bullish on him this year, but there's also the fact that he's getting older, he's injury prone, and he might show up out of shape. So I think he kind of is all over the board. The other guy I wanted to throw out here, and this is kind of related to what Craig was saying, and that's Christian Kirk, the receiver for the
Ricky
Texans.
Bobby?
Yeah, I think there's my point is, I don't think he's going to end up where we have him ranked. I think he's either going to be he's going to either outplay his ADP or he's going to be fucking invisible. Like, I don't think there's any middle ground because I think I could see a world in which he establishes himself as the number 2 receiver in this offense right away because he's a veteran. They traded for him. You know, they got these 2 guys out of Iowa State and they have a good potential in 2026 or whatever. But right now we just need a guy who knows what he's doing and he's going to go run routes and be where he's supposed to be. So he is the wide receiver 56 in our ranks. I could see a world where he ends up like a fringe wide receiver 2, like a top 24 guy, just because if this offense takes off, if he does what he's supposed to do, he's the number 2 receiver in this offense. CJ Stroud plays better. Christian Kirk, he's shown in the past, like he can put up volume. He's not like necessarily the best receiver in the world, but he can put up volume. And then alternatively, there's another world, which I think is very valid and real, where Jalen Noel just starts over him like right away. And then Christian Kirk is dropped after week 1. You know what I mean? Like he's just, to me, maybe I misinterpreted what this category is, but like,
Yeah, maybe he's more of a post type sleeper to you.
Yeah, but I just think he's not going to end up where we have him ranked. Is what I think. You think he's going to be either way higher or like invisible in fantasy.
Yeah, that's fair. I think maybe Ricky Bobby, I'm conflating it too, because it's also just like someone you're taking and you're like, yeah, if you just like want to win or come in last place or just, Craig, who's your Ricky Bobby guy?
I think it's DK Metcalf.
Ooh.
Because
yeah,
you can see, and right now we have him as our wide receiver 24. I don't think that's happening. I think if the Steelers get Rodgers and Rodgers can get through 17 games, and the Steelers' offensive line is better than it's been in a decade, the running game is good, the defense is great. They're generating a lot of turnovers. They're in the red zone a lot. It's just DK Metcalf. There's no one else really besides Pat Freiermuth. Like, I think there is a world where DK Metcalf has like 13 touchdowns, 14 touchdowns, and Rodgers and him have a Devontae Adams in the end zone, just targeting him over and over. And then on the flip side, it's like Rodgers plays 4 games. Mason Rudolph sucks. The offensive line isn't that good. Arthur Smith is on the way out. They can't run the ball. And DK Metcalf has like 800 yards and 4 touchdowns. I think those are like the 2 scenarios.
Yep. This is perfect.
Yeah, I think you're dead on. I like the idea that DK Metcalf and Rodgers could get like 14 touchdowns if they get the mind meld together from all the practice they're getting.
Yeah.
Dude, I don't know if you saw, but they've practiced together a couple times already.
Nice.
Just not with the Steelers.
Not with the Steelers.
So have we determined? So so where we're at is we're just accepting the following. Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers seem to have agreed that he will sign there. Aaron Rodgers didn't want the shit that he wouldn't attend OTAs to go to the pyramids or whatever.
Yes.
So he's just like, I'll sign after that's over because I don't want to hear about it.
To go to the pyramids or whatever.
And
Craig, do you think he went to the pyramids to find the Fountain of Youth?
Oh,
did he get like a sneak look at this script?
Wait, we should bet the Steelers odds, Super Bowl odds, before people figure out he found it.
We got an email about that movie that I guess the writer of the movie is a literal Vanderbilt. And apparently, like, history of the Vanderbilt family is like woven into the script.
Oh, interesting.
Wow, that's wild.
That's funny.
Like Anderson Cooper?
Yeah.
Yeah, Anderson Cooper wrote it.
So, do you think that, didn't you say in that movie, what was the movie called again?
Fountain of Youth.
It was just called Fountain of Youth. Didn't you say that if the person who finds it, drinks from it, loves themselves more than anyone else, that they just burn?
Yeah, that's the problematic.
What's your point? I don't see the connection.
What are you getting at?
You think he got all the way there and saw the movie? Was like, oh,
you know what? Because it was Albert Breer on Bill who said that basically. Yeah. It's funny because that argument, if you don't think about it, that actually I get it. I'm like, yeah, if he joined the Steelers now, and Breer was like, he has personal stuff he wants to attend to. There's things going on in his life, whatever. I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. Because if he joined the Steelers now and then is just gone, everybody would be mad. But if he's not on the Steelers yet, you can't be mad that he's missing.
Can I give my rebuttal?
Well, I said if you don't think about it, but yeah.
Okay. Well, I've thought about it and I've decided it's absolutely so fucking pathetic. And frankly, makes me think less of the Steelers as an organization as well, that they would agree to it because they're afraid they're literally afraid of the media backlash because they're like, we're going to sign a quarterback who will not come and practice and we don't want to hear about it. And he doesn't want to hear about it. Like, that's the most snowflake thing I have ever heard.
Yeah, but
I'm not going to come to my job and I don't want to fucking hear that people are mad I'm not at my job.
But that's not really the Steelers' choice. I mean, they're getting cucked by Rodgers every step of the way here. Like,
that's why he doesn't respect. It's a choice in absentia. The decision is, but they made the decision
they're letting
to not
themselves get cucked.
Yeah.
They're in the
You're
cuck
sitting
chair.
in the chair, aren't you? Like, you can get up. They just discover free will. Fuck.
By the way,
I'm so
cuck chair's got to be up there with the funniest expression imaginable. The cuck chair.
That's us watching fucking Russell Wilson and Neighbors and Garrett Wilson and Fields just sitting in the chair.
Shit, what was I going to say? Oh, I feel like the Aaron Rodgers career personality reputation arc is it's like so parallel to Brett Favre. It's like I'm starting to worry about Jordan Love a little. What's Jordan Love got in his future?
It's like the Shining Hotel.
It's like future Hall of Famer, gunslinger, one of the greatest of all time. Then by the end of the career, they're like, I'm fucking sick of this guy. Jesus Christ.
I think the Steelers are going to be the worst team in the league in like 2028.
Yeah, you're probably right. I will say it's incredible.
This is another thing I was going to say when you guys were talking about Pickens. I'm like, it feels like you're putting a lot of faith in Tomlin when also everything that's going on with the Steelers has been like kind of shitty lately.
So I told you guys that when I was at that Ravens Steelers game, I was in the Ravens locker room and like the Ravens out of what they thought people couldn't hear them, they were like making fun of the Steelers' game plan on defense.
Yeah.
And like privately, they were just like mocking it. And then I was like, that's kind of bad. And then I found
That's kind of bad.
and they basically were saying it's outdated. They were just like, basically the criticism was, without getting into like odd and even fronts on defense, basically the Steelers were threatening to do something that they never do. It's like, imagine running play action if you don't run the ball. It's just like, you're not going to do that, so why would I honor the fake? That's basically what they're making fun of him for. But then I found this other thing. It was a Julian Edelman said that on his podcast, and he basically said he knew he would destroy the Steelers because they would just put a linebacker over the slot, and I would win that matchup every time. And then every time they played, Edelman literally says, you'd think they would change it. And he's like, I had that for like years and years. And I do think that's the through line with Tomlin, is he's so great at so many things, but there is such bad self-scouting, like the tells and stuff, like the holes in the Death Star never get patched, ever.
This is why Pete Carroll got ran out of town in Seattle.
Yes.
Little shit like that where it was like, man, you really just can't make an adjustment. Yeah.
And all this Rodgers, I don't know. I'm increasingly just like, man, maybe DK was right. Maybe Russell Wilson was a better option for them than fucking Rodgers.
Russell Wilson would be at fucking OTAs right now.
Russell Wilson would be at OTAs.
I would rather have Fields than either of them, to be honest.
The irony is, I think the Steelers wanted Fields.
It was just Tomlin who didn't. Tomlin wanted Russ, and Tomlin wanted Shador.
And they lowballed Fields too. I think that there was an element of, well, would you rather play for the Jets or the Steelers? And Fields was like,
I'd rather have $40 million.
Yeah, I'd rather have $40 million. That's what I'd rather have.
And also not have to be on the team that benched me.
Heifetz, that right there is the perfect example of what the Steelers are right now. Is like, they still think they are the Steelers from 2008.
Yeah. They're Macedonia, and they're like, remember Alexander the Great? And you're like, yeah, he's dead.
That's a interesting comp. I like that one.
Yeah. Now the Tuxedos are fucked up award in honor of Step Brothers for when two guys next to each other. A dirty secret to fantasy football is when official rankings have teammates next to each other. It's because we have no idea what's going to happen.
Right.
So I'm just curious what you guys' teammates are that you don't know how to rank. We talked about this earlier. Mine was just the Chiefs, like Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, Marquise Brown. I don't know how to rank these guys. I don't know how I'm going to decide how to rank these guys. I'm going to have to give this a lot of thought over the summer. But Craig, who's your team where you just don't know how to rank the pass catchers?
It's the Bears. I don't know. There's just everyone on the Bears. It's just all too new, and there's too many. It's like Ben Johnson. Does he hate DJ Moore? Does everybody in the Bears hate DJ Moore? Is Rome Odunze good or not? Was it all Caleb last year? That is why Rome Odunze didn't have a good year. Luther Burden is like either going to be the best player in the league or the worst player in the league. Colston Loveland is a rookie tight end. Cole Kmet's there. I'm just like, I don't know what to do to any of these guys. I'll just take Caleb Williams. But I can't decide on any of these receivers and which one's going to pop.
Dude, even the running game with DeAndre Swift. And you're like, didn't you get ran out of town because you didn't know how to run in Ben Johnson's offense in Detroit that had a better running game? Like, even that's kind of a weird one.
I'm just like, I'll just take Caleb, I guess, and enjoy because I don't want to have to figure out or guess which one of these guys is going to take off.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll have to figure that one out.
It remains the Packers. What do we do with the Packers receiving core? Jaden Reed, ostensibly the top guy, but then plays the least of all of them. Romeo Doubs and Matthew Golden, the first round rookie. I just don't know what to expect from this offense. They just have almost too much talent and depth at the receiver spot to like really know what the hell they're going to do. And also like their coach seems very adamant that they're not going to like just feed the ball to one guy. I think he sees it as like a competitive advantage that they have 4 or 5 guys that they can feed.
I feel like if Sean Payton was doing what Matt LaFleur was doing, like I feel like they're doing the same thing, but because it's Matt LaFleur, we're okay with it. And then we hate Sean Payton, so we're not okay with it.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I also love that, like, to some degree, it's kind of like LaFleur is doing what Sean McVay was doing 5 years ago. The Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, everything's going to look the same. You don't know where it's going to go. Ho-ho. And then Sean McVay kind of was like, you know what's sick? Having like a great player that give him the ball
to Cooper Kupp too many times.
Kevin O'Connell's like, just give it to Justin Jefferson. And then just that's great.
Yeah.
Okay. My favorite category. Guys you hate but have to rank, which is the opposite of Ricky Bobby picks. Just the flaccid soy boy beta cuck picks. The ones that if you take, you feel like you've insulted your ancestors. DK.
Chris Olave.
Same.
Yeah. Same. 100%.
Yuck.
Just don't want anything to do with the Saints offense this year, really. And Olave is, obviously they added, and this is a very serious thing, but like the added risk of having another concussion could like completely take him
4 or
out for
5,
the rest of the year. So
how many games did he miss with the concussion last year? Like 10?
Yeah, it was like they shut him down because it was so serious. And obviously I can't see the future. I don't know what's going to happen going forward, but it is a huge risk to have him and to draft him. And so, that's not very funny, but like that is a true thing. I just would never draft.
No, and in all serious, like where I'm at with this is, I mean, it's probably, there's a level of like, we participate in all this and whatever, but like the reality is fantasy football is supposed to be fun, and it's not fun watching. Like you feel like a high school parent at a game watching between your fingers, and you're just hoping that they get through every play. You just don't want them to get hurt, and you're trying to survive. I'm like, that's not very fun. It's not fun to watch. Like that's why I don't want two on my teams. I'm like, unfortunately, I don't have fun watching the Miami Dolphins anymore. I'm just kind of like in the back of my mind, I'm never like loose.
The other guy I wanted to mention here is Michael Pittman, who I think is a good player, but the offense is just way too unpredictable. The quarterback is just way too unpredictable. If Daniel Jones becomes the starter, I think that's probably really good for Michael Pittman. But in the meantime, just don't know what to expect.
That's a great one. I really will feel like a failure if I have Michael Pittman on my teams. Like if past Danny has future Danny every single week having to decide whether to play Michael Pittman or not, I will have failed so hard. I think in short, I actually am higher on the potential of Anthony Richardson being a good quarterback than I feel like everyone else. But having said that, if I want to invest in the Colts, I will just take Anthony Richardson. Like I'm not going to bank on Anthony Richardson propelling Michael Pittman to any sort of relevance, nor Daniel Jones doing it. So no, I will have no Colts receivers at almost any price that's reasonable.
I was scorned once by Pittman, and I shan't do it again.
Well, just because you're banking on Richardson being good enough to make it happen, or bad enough that Daniel Jones plays and Jones is good enough. And it's like at that point, again, just take Anthony Richardson if you think he's going to be good, because he's going to be way more impactful on your team. There's 1,000 receivers. Why watch the Colts offense if it's going to suck? That's the thing. Why are you going to say there's so many good quarterbacks in the NFL that you could watch on Sundays? Why would you watch the Colts? There's so many other teams you could watch.
Yeah,
like it's fantasy football. Who wants to watch Michael Pittman waving his hands?
Sometimes a bad movie, though, is kind of fun to watch. It's like a Steven Seagal film, Sometimes
the Colts are authors of two of the funniest plays in the last 15 years.
The parlay?
Yeah,
the parlay.
Yeah.
And then the other thing where they they snapped it to the guy. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
So there's that. Plus, was the Carson Wentz left-handed interception from the end zone with the Colts? Man, the Colts, I would argue the Colts are fun to watch.
Colts, dude, those are pretty bad. The Wentz left-handed pick 6 was unbelievable. Dude, that was an all-timer.
Oh, man.
That was truly like if Patrick Mahomes got all like Space Jam Monster, they stole his powers. That's what Patrick Mahomes would look like, left-handed picks. Okay. Any other players that you hate with all your guts and don't want to take? But you have to rank.
Hate with all your guts. For some reason that
first some of your I hate Kadarius Toney with all my
with
guts,
all your heart, or you hate his guts.
Now Olave and Pittman are probably the two best.
And for reference, we have Pittman 80th, and I wouldn't take him there. I just had to rank. I like legally have to rank him.
Just other players.
It'd be preposterous to not rank him. That would be like irresponsible. But I'm not going to take him.
I do think, to your point earlier about Garrett Wilson is like the most talented player you could get super late. I do think Olave is really good.
Yeah. That's a good point. Olave's crazy talented. Like he's a great ball tracker, which there's not, it's a hard thing to explain because almost like quarterbacks with their deep percentages is almost like a receiver stat. Olave is unbelievable. I mean, this is what separated Deshaun Jackson. It's like how many fast receivers there. The difference is Deshaun Jackson can look up into the night sky and just
play center field.
Yeah, 25 yards in advance. Yeah, he could have been a Gold Glove center fielder in another life. Exactly, which is a skill. Olave has that, if not the speed. But dude, you can't pay me to watch the New Orleans Saints. I will not be invested. I will not be starting.
You are in fact paid to watch the Saints, though.
Fuck, that's a good point.
You couldn't pay me. Well, you are getting paid to do it.
You should ask for less money if you don't have to watch. You'd be like, just take $5,000 away from my salary, and I won't watch the Saints.
Man, is that all it would take?
He's writing in little amendments, addendums.
I will acknowledge 31 teams.
You can't make me. It's funny. Some people are like, oh, imagine if the Saints get the first pick and get Arch Manning. And I'm like, let me tell you something. I think it's more likely that Arch Manning would play 5 seasons in college and come out in 2028 than come out next year if the Saints have the first pick.
Yeah, that's probably right.
Okay.
Also, can't Arch not come out next year anyway?
No, he could. He could.
I believe he could, but I think people are saying he might not. Or people are basically saying like it's a leap to say that he will.
Well, you got to remember,
seen anything yet?
First of all, we have to see him play. I think Arch Manning's going to be good, which isn't a hot take. But you got to remember, the Peyton Manning could have came out after 3 years, and the Jets are the first pick, and Peyton Manning went back to school, and then Giants they did everything with Eli. But like the Peyton thing, no one remembers. But Peyton didn't want to go to the Jets, which was a great call. Okay.
Is there any major receiver that we just didn't talk about here that you guys want to just like throw his name out? We talked about Justin Jefferson in depth a couple of shows ago.
I think Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams being on the Rams is like unbelievable, and we didn't hit that. That's amazing.
I think Drake London's another interesting player this year.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how high I'm going to be on him relative to everyone else. I feel like I'm going to be pretty excited about him though.
He's the most highly ranked receiver that I feel like everyone is worried about, doesn't have strong opinions of.
Mm-hmm.
He's like basically hovering around top 10. And it's
Drake London's the first receiver that you could take that could be healthy and you still feel like is a risk. The first like 12 guys mostly feel like it's just, well, if they're healthy, they're going to be good.
Yeah.
Right.
And then Drake London is like,
yep.
Well, what if Penix is bad? What if Drake London's overrated? But like Drake London, I mean, when Penix played, I wish I had this in front of me. I believe Drake London was just straight up like a top 3 fantasy receiver.
He salt and peppered him.
Or at least, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Drake London has the neighbor syndrome. How old is he? Drake London's like 23.
Like 21 years old.
24 in July.
I think Lad McConkey's
Drake London is
super
18 years old. That's nuts.
Yeah. Wait, can you do the Michael Caine thing? Do the Michael Caine thing.
She was only 16 years old. You're going to blow the bloody doors off. He's 23. Jesus.
We got to watch the trip, Craig. 1, 2, and 3. Maybe there was even a 4th. I don't know.
Okay. Any other receivers we're talking about before we do emails?
I said Lad McConkey, I think, is also another interesting one.
Should we just name people?
Just name people that are interesting.
Okay,
Jack
Cortland
London and
Sutton.
Jigba. Intriguing.
Ugh.
Okay, we can be done.
Okay.
Jameson Williams.
One guy.
Intriguing.
Jacoby Myers, sleeper.
Ooh.
Brandon Ayuk, I'm totally
Zay
out.
Flowers.
That's his Chris Godwin. Totally out.
Poor Chris. Ugh.
It sucks.
Back to work, John.
Back to work, John. All right.
That kills me. I think about it like once a week. I think about
the
that.
worst.
Roman
Back
Empire.
to work, John.
God. But it's also like kind of like words to live by. Like that's so inspiring, and it's like so it's just so impressive that he immediately kind of reverted to that. Like, all right, let's get to work.
Yeah, sucks. All right, let's do emails. Okay, this one's from Greg.
G-Bone. It's from Greg?
Gerg.
Is it Gerg?
Sorry, you're right. Gerg.
Not the Greg.
No, it's not the Gerg. Just a Greg, as far as I know.
Just a Greg.
So Greg says he was listening to last week's show.
Thank you.
The tight end episode. And if you remember at the end of that, we kept saying we're tired of this Joker thing. Like, everyone's saying, who's the Joker going to be for Denver? We're just tired of it.
Yeah.
So Greg says, listening to the show yesterday, my new Bluetooth earbuds did not fully turn off. And I left them on the kitchen counter where my kids eat. These 2 daughters, 7 and 9 years old. So I turned on your tight ends podcast during the section where you went off the rails talking about the Joker, chess pieces, athleticism. But I couldn't figure out why my phone was showing the podcast is playing, yet no audio is coming out of my phone. So after a minute or so, I just kind of gave up. And then I go back downstairs and my 7 and 9-year-old daughters come rushing up to me and said, Daddy, your new headphones are alive. And they keep saying the F word.
Oh, no.
So since then,
they keep saying the F word.
My 7-year-old daughter now runs around the house yelling, fucking Joker, fucking Joker.
Oh, no.
And then I try to explain how Bluetooth works. And then I realized I actually have no clue how Bluetooth works.
He's like, fucking Bluetooth.
No one does.
Talked myself into a corner, gave up. Now my girls have a new phrase to share with their friends at school.
Oh, God.
So we're going to have a whole elementary school of kids going, fucking Joker.
Just what Sean Payton wants.
Yeah.
It's working.
Sorry about that.
That's really funny.
Yeah,
Is that on us? But it's not on us.
It's a little on us.
I mean, we said it.
I know. It's not on us.
Well,
but also,
quick
it's
pause.
not our responsibility to keep kids from hearing us.
I
Can
have
we give
had that
parents,
happen, though.
I guess some parents have, I guess anyone would have paused the show by now, right?
I mean, if you know our show and you have ever listened to it, and you're having your kids listen to it, like that's on you. That's
unless they want to show the kids they're cool. Like sometimes, like the kids like 12, 13, they're listening right now. Like that means your dad's sick.
That's true. Show and tell. My dad listens to the Ringer Fantasy
that means your
Football
dad's
Show.
sick.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's like in the Santa Claus when the kid shows up to Show and Tell and he's like, "My dad is Santa Claus."
Well, it's funny you said that. That's what I was going to say. And again, pause people if you're with small children. But the worst I've ever felt doing the show is when we ruined Santa for like some families' kids.
Yeah.
Let's not do it again, Heifetz.
That's why I just said 2 times in a row, like pause the show if you're with kids.
Yeah, and by ruin it, you mean that like he has a lot more helpers than people you think.
Right.
Yeah, no, Santa's
And,
so
he can't
many
do it all
helpers.
himself.
Also, his
Sometimes all the presidents.
his logistics are so much easier now because of Amazon.
Amazon Web Services.
I don't do that.
And some of the elves, like, let's be real, some of the elves deliver the gifts.
Greg,
Some of the
don't
elves
do
deliver
what?
the gifts.
We can't do that. We can't have anybody associating Santa with Amazon and The Rock.
Daddy Bezos is Santa. Let me tell you something.
Yeah. I mean, basically like the same ethos, right?
Say Bezos.
Oh.
Heyo. Should we all watch Red One for the summer and do a
Is
movie
that the one
episode?
with why are the polar bears on the island? What's going on with that?
I don't
It's
know.
like Lost.
I don't know. I have no idea.
No, I want to watch the we should do a Happy Gilmore live watch and then a Happy Gilmore 2. Oh.
I'm not watching the trailers for the second one. I don't want to see the jokes.
I think not watching trailers for movies you're definitely going to see is great.
Yeah.
Like Jackie went into Sinners, didn't know Michael B. Jordan was a twin. She was shocked.
I will be
She was
honest.
shocked.
You're
I don't-
obsessed with the twins.
I just generally
It's
like when you
it's
don't know
this
anything about a
big
movie you just see.
twist. M. Night Shyamalan.
It's like the first shot of the movies. They're like, "Hey, twin
Yeah.
brother."
She didn't know that. It's cool. Like they're just passing a cigarette to each other. It's great. She's like,
Heifetz,
whoa.
were you this shocked when you went and watched the movie Twins?
I've never seen that. I don't know what that is.
Come on.
Parent
Before
Trap
your
must have
time.
blew your mind when you found out it was one girl.
That is actually kind of wild, Craig.
Dude, I always confuse Parent Trap with Full House because Full House is one daughter that was played by 2 people, but Parent Trap was 2 people played by 1 person, and I always confused that as a kid because I always thought that Lindsay Lohan was twins and not the Olsens.
And you saw the Olsen non-twins? Okay.
I never could keep that straight. Anyway.
That's high level stuff.
Speaking of high level stuff, so last episode, this guy recommended all this popcorn stuff for Craig. Dude, people came for this guy's popcorn credentials. Oh my God. I love to the guy who emailed us. Thank you for emailing us, but holy shit, people are coming for this guy's throat.
For the record, after the show ended, we started talking about the popcorn thing, and then we were like, wait a minute. Nothing that he said really made sense.
No, not nothing. Just the point where he was like,
the butter
they don't
stuff.
use butter.
Yes, they don't
For the
cook. You don't
popcorn.
cook butter in. You don't cook
'Cause he was
popcorn
like-
in butter. You top it with butter. You cook it in oil.
Yeah, he was saying milk fats are bad for like popping butter. And then Craig was like, why would you do that in butter?
Yeah.
You
And
add
then
the
we were
butter
like,
later.
wait a minute.
So then someone emails
Maybe that
it-
guy was wrong.
So, oh no, this is on Blue Sky where you can
Or maybe he's
tweet us.
a genius and no one's
He's
tried.
so wrong. He's actually right.
Anyway, so this guy says the guy who recommended popcorn on the last show, that email from an industry expert on popcorn was bad. God, people are so much meaner on fucking the internet and the emails.
Is there a popcorn Reddit I should be on?
I know. He says that Frankenstein
Probably.
orange oil is used by chains looking to cut costs. The good places use pure coconut oil to the popcorn, then add salt and real melted butter. 3 years of working at a small town theater, and people would come by just to buy the popcorn and leave. My
This guy's a
local
popcorn
rep,
hipster.
yeah. I don't know what this means, but he says my local rep Coolidge shouts to rewatchables.
Oh,
I
no
don't know
way.
what that means. What does that mean?
It's Coolidge Corner Theater. It's in Boston. We just did a show there a month or 2 ago. It's
That's
honestly
where
one of the coolest theaters I've been to.
that was the Goodwill Hunting one.
No, we did like a Ringer film festival at Coolidge where we just screened a bunch of our favorite movies for an entire weekend.
Oh god.
And then Bill, Sean, and Chris would do like little conversations before and after them. It was great.
I'm not gonna lie, Bill kind of ruined Goodwill Hunting for me with the nitpicks.
Oh yeah, they were
When
good.
he's like, his car's gone. We didn't fucking realize. I'm like, he's
that's
bought
a
him a
great
car.
one.
His car's gone. What are you confused about?
I
I'm
mean,
like, damn.
Priscilla had a good one about them being at the Harvard bar and like Sean saying that Robin Williams was actually a shitty therapist. There's,
that was funny. Robin Williams is a terrible therapist.
terrible.
Anyway, that was fun. Anyway, so he says there's a whole bunch of popcorn stuff. But anyway, Craig, we're getting a lot of feedback on the popcorn stuff.
I agree. Who sent this email? Do you have a name for this guy?
It was a Blue Sky post that
I agree
It was a
though.
whole
Like you do the
handle.
coconut oil, then you add salt and real melted butter after. That
They
is
also
what
said
that's the
coconut
move.
oil does not impart a flavor. It's got a great smoke point and shelf stability that makes a pure popcorn taste.
Yeah,
I'm lost.
I feel like I can taste coconut oil a little bit, which is why sometimes I opt for olive oil, which I know has a lower smoke point, but I can kind of toe that line.
I thought I knew what smoke point meant. We're talking about popcorn. What is smoke point
If
getting
the
involved?
oil burns too quickly,
Oh,
the
you're doing it on
kernels won't pop.
stovetop.
Yes.
Oh, you're doing it on an actual stovetop?
Well, regardless, wherever you're popping the pop, as long as it's not a microwave. No, they're talking. These are like in the movie theater. You're using like essentially a hot pan with oil to pop the kernels, and if the oil burns too quickly, the kernels won't pop and it'll be shitty.
Can you just use like canola oil, or is that like low quality? It's too low.
You can, but I think it's less healthy. It's lower quality. You know.
I just saw a video of how you make avocado oil, and I'm like, I see why that's so expensive. That shit's hard.
Yeah. Oh, really? What is it different than olive oil?
It's just so it's such a thing. I'm like, oh my
Even
god.
just watching these like olive oil plants in Italy make olive oil, you're like, this is a lot of work.
It's so much work. God, I see why we buy stuff instead of have these farms.
Is this why we have trade?
Yeah, dude, trade is sick.
That's why we used to have trade.
Yeah, we used to have trade. Yeah. We used to do barter.
Better learn olive oil, Craig.
Get ready to learn olive oil farm, buddy.
Jack and I, when we were in France, we were like, should we just buy a bunch of shit and come back?
Yeah.
I mean,
We debated
probably.
buying a third suitcase and just filling it with French wine and just kind of seeing what happened.
What's the food you're most happy you don't have to make? Is it bread?
No, bread's the only food I do make. Thanks for my sourdough stuff,
But
by the way.
I love making it, but the work that is required is quite a lot.
You're not going to go grow some fucking grain.
Well,
Is that what you
when
mean?
you get to that, when you get down to the early stages of that stuff. But even like fucking olive oil, I'm like, thank God I don't have to make
Someone
olive
makes
oil.
olive oil.
Yeah,
For
you
me.
want to you just want to heat up.
I mean, I was gonna say like milk and butter. Sure, glad I don't have to like go milk a cow.
Would you rather have to just go milk a cow or make olive oil?
I'd rather milk a cow
I think so.
than grow olives
I
and
don't
then
know.
hard. Yeah, that seems hard. I just would probably.
There's something
I'd rather do
romantic
butter.
about olive oil, though.
Oh, I thought you were going to say about milking a cow.
I don't know. It just like reminds me of something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what the cup chair's for. Have either of you ever milked a cow?
No.
When I was like in middle school, I think.
Oh, really? I've
It was
never
like a
done
field trip.
it. Can you recount your experience?
That was warm. That shit comes out hot.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I
it's
guess
warm
that
in the
makes
bucket.
sense.
I honestly, I milked cows mostly in Red Dead Redemption too. You know, in the
milked a lot of
epilogue Red
cows.
Dead.
Oh,
You know, a
God.
fucked up thing of
What
modern
the
life.
fuck kind of game is this?
A fucked up thing of modern life.
milking a
Red Dead
cow?
Redemption 2
Video
is the
games are
best
getting
game
too
ever made.
real. It's like,
I know,
you're
it's like
tired.
you're doing
Go take a nap.
mundane
No,
tasks.
the best Red Dead Redemption and
Taxes are due.
no,
You have to take the recycling out.
no, but that's why Red Dead Redemption 2, among the 1,000 reasons, is like one of the best games ever made. Is that one, the pace of play is slow. Reloading is slow. Getting on your fucking horse, building a tent is slow. It's intentionally that. But the epilogue of the
that sounds
game.
bad.
No, it's
Yeah,
amazing.
that doesn't sound fun.
It's the most fun I've ever had. And like the epilogue of the game is everyone who doesn't play video games is like, this is pathetic. Anyone who's played Red Dead Redemption 2 is like nodding vigorously. Dude, good hang with Amy Poehler. Didn't
Sex is great, but have you ever tried Red Dead Redemption 2?
dude, Jack Black just said he put 400
Takes a lot
hours
longer
into
to play
Red Dead.
Red Dead.
Anyway, the epilogue of Red Dead Redemption is you kind of like retire to a farm and you actually escape and get like the good life. And you're just like on a farm with your wife and child and like John Wick, like you're retired.
Yeah.
And you just go around the house and do chores and you just like shovel shit and you milk cows and you like move eggs and
What
you
the
feed
fuck?
your pigs.
And that's fun?
It is bizarrely, I think I have more
The
fun doing
most
chores
fun
That is a
I've
very
ever
this
had.
depressing
game.
and alarming
Dude,
anecdote.
People emailed in. The people who played the game, like it's so cathartic to just walk around after you've done this game. You're such a horrible person and you're just like doing all this stuff. And then you're like, hey, Abigail, like I'm going to go milk the fucking cows. And like, it's great.
It feels like a lot of work. You
is-
have to make a fucking list, like a honey-do
So-
list of things to do on your
But is-
fucking
no,
video
let's
game.
make-
Is that like a one-off little funny like side thing where for like one day you're doing that and then you go back? Or is that like
It's a
something
side,
you just-
yeah, it's not like that's like, months and months of the game, but like at the end of the game, like that's a whole thing. And sometimes, that's the original thing Grand Theft Auto introduced is like, you don't have to go do the next mission. You can kind of just hang out in the world. That's the world you're hanging out
Yeah,
in.
but the world is like killing hookers and like driving.
That's Grand Well, yeah.
it's different
But
than
Red
like
Dead Redemption, it's,
organizing your desk.
dude, Red Dead is incredible.
I really just got to escape the real world. I'm going to do this thing and go fucking do
while
the
we're
dishes
here-
in my video game.
On my list, which we never talked about, was Grand Theft Auto had the trailer for GTA 6, which I don't know if Craig will ever get back into video games, but I actually think, Craig, I might have all the listeners bully you to get a system to play GTA 6. I think GTA 6 is going to be one of the biggest cultural events of my entire life.
Yeah, I probably will. I'd rather just, it's like a boat. I'd rather go to my friend's house to play.
And I was gonna say, let's play video games together when we hang out next in like LA
Dude,
or whatever.
I am going to. I don't play a ton of video games right now, but like I will play GTA 6, and it's GTA 6. Did you see the trailer, DK?
No,
I can't. It's unbelievable.
I'll watch it after this. I'm sorry.
It's like how DK talks to Calvin. He's like, I'll get to it.
Yeah.
I'll do that tomorrow. We'll do that later.
Daddy's working right now.
Yeah. All right. What the fuck are we talking about? Okay, I'll just do these two more emails. Jack emailed us about, we were joking about severance on the last
J-Bone.
episode.
Jackie.
J-Bone. We were talking about how we severed, like us in the off season is almost severed from us in the in season, and they're like different people.
Mm-hmm.
Jack wrote that around week 3 or 4, Kai should do his best Miss Casey impersonation and present the Audi off-season facts to the group of like what our Audis thought.
That's funny.
And then so Kai and Miss Casey brings up preseason takes and opinions we had before the year started. And the innies can then decide whether that is how they feel or whether that. And so like comes up and Craig, your Audi believes Josh Palmer is an excellent fantasy asset.
That's actually really funny. That's a great week 8 midway thing to do.
We just record, like we're recording severed videos for ourselves. We play them.
Carlos is like, Craig, you said that DK Metcalf actually has a super high ceiling in June. I'm like,
Heifetz, remember when you said Malik Neighbors was like not a great fantasy player?
That's good.
Yeah, that is good. Okay. Speaking of good, I'll just do one more here. We were talking about why are we talking about Google? Oh, DK, you brought up the video of guys Googling Google.
He Googled Google from Google and then clicked on Google to get to Google.
And then was like, wait a minute, this is where I started. I don't want to be here.
And his friend, it's like his friend was watching him do it. He just started like losing his shit when he saw him do it. I don't know I don't know any of the context of the clip. I just saw it was fucking great.
That's so funny. That's actually incredible. So we got this email from Spencer.
S-Bone.
Nope. There's another one.
Nope. We're out on S. S-Bone's not good.
Nope.
What about what I said earlier?
It was S-Bone,
G-Bone.
G-Bone.
D-Bone, B-Bone. And then
B-Bone's out.
I think you said N-Bone. That doesn't work.
No, I didn't say that.
We're gonna have to rank these.
I said earlier, I said G-Bone for Greg.
No, but I think you did N or M and it didn't work.
M was yesterday.
M
or last week or whatever.
M bone's connected to the L bone. I don't know.
So anyway.
J-Bone's the best. It works the best.
J-Bone's great.
J-Bone.
All right, what's the email?
Even Craig's getting sick of this.
Spence Bone says, when I was in 10th grade, I had a teacher who did not understand computers. The teacher would Google,
mm-hmm.
and then Google YouTube, which I think is so funny. And then one time he got confused and tried to do a Google search in the YouTube search bar and had no idea why he couldn't find what he was looking for. And then a few times kids would unplug his computer before class because the teacher could only freak out and then call IT and half of class would be ruined.
Oh, I love that. That's classic.
Yeah. I just, that resonated with you a lot because I feel like I was the Nicole Jokic of wasting time in high school for like micro movements to like waste class time.
Dude, nothing better than like a fire alarm procedural day. Ugh, the best.
I had this one move. There was this class I had in high school that the room was next to the other room. Like they were just, my class was literally one door over. My next class was one door over. Shut the fuck up. No, my class was, God damn it. I'm not going to tell the story.
Holy shit. Where'd you go to high school? That's crazy. Two rooms next to each other?
No, it was, God damn it.
Fucking wild. I bet you guys had some cool stories.
Did you sit next to other kids in class? That's crazy.
Okay, wait. What did you mean though?
No,
by
fuck
that?
you. I'm not telling the story.
Your next class was immediately next
no,
door.
I'm not telling it. It's not.
Oh,
it
I
can't
see.
live up.
Subsequent class was okay. Next door.
All right, fine. Screw it. This one's from Aiden.
You're really not going to tell a story?
No.
Okay.
This one's from Aiden.
Come on.
A-bone.
Honestly, what DK said was significantly funnier than anything I was going to say. A-Bone says, hearing your discussion about willing to sell feet pics, put them on the main Instagram.
Yeah.
I immediately thought of Danny DeVito because 10 to 15 years ago, Danny DeVito's Twitter feed was hilarious because he wouldn't post selfies. He would just take pictures of his bare feet at events with the hashtag trollfoot.
Oh,
and I specifically have a memory of Danny DeVito tweeting a picture of his troll foot at a Dodgers game, I believe along the third baseline. And I believe this man was just offering up his little hot dogs for free to anyone who wanted them.
Oh, man. He's so ahead of it.
DeVito remains undefeated. Love that guy.
Shout out.
Him just showing up in Always Sunny and then just being like, I'll do this for the next 15 years.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I'll pay for this and also just crawl out of couches naked. All right, that's all.
Anyway, you should watch the movie Twins.
I've never seen that.
I don't know what that movie is.
It's him and Arnold.
Arnold Schwarzenegger. You're never gonna believe this, Heifetz. It's gonna blow your fucking mind. They're twins.
Okay, you know what? I don't think it's crazy that I didn't know that the Michael B.
No,
Jordan
I don't think it's crazy. I actually have never seen a trailer for Sinners either. I would go in completely blind. I want to watch it now, just not knowing anything about the movie.
Yeah.
Excellent movie to watch knowing nothing about.
Yeah.
See, you got to see it in the theater, DK. You got to hurry.
All right.
Yeah, I feel like there's only another week. Okay. That's all. I think that's all we got. Thank you, DK. Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Kai. Thank you, Carlos. Thank you, Austin. Thank you, everyone, for emails to ringerfantasyfootball@gmail.com. What do we want? We want tells of any kind.
Oh, yeah. In sports or war.
Sports or war, or, if there's a third thing. Are there other things?
For tells?
Yeah.
When someone's lying? I don't know.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Lauren.
Lauren.
Thank you, Benson Boone.
Nice.
How dare you?
Sick.
You're bringing him back up after what we just went through last episode? We're doing this
Craig
again?
was so mad. Wait, so Craig was so mad that Steph Curry was at the Benson Boone concert, and then
singing
someone
along
emailed
like
in.
a teenage girl.
Someone emailed in actually. Well, he has a teenage girl. Maybe it's related to him having a teenage girl.
Just
we got a great email from somebody. I actually want to find the name.
It's Tyrus.
Tebow.
His name is Tyrus Cobb, by the way. His name's Ty Cobb.
Yeah, he emailed in. He's like the great grandson of Ty Cobb. Or whatever.
Yeah, I forgot that. But he was like, in all fairness to Steph, like he's a dad in his late 30s with a bunch of teenage daughters and children who probably like Benson Boone, and like has a job and is probably not, listening and watching and consuming everything at all times. So yeah, maybe his daughters like Benson Boone and he likes Benson Boone.
It's called being a good dad, Craig.
Yeah, he's a girl dad.
There you go.
Doesn't mean it's not.
How
cringy.
did Benson Boone get big enough to be hated already? I didn't. When you said he's the Imagine Dragons of this era, I feel like he's still new. Is he not?
He is new. It's because he did the flip at the Grammys. The flip.
So he did the flip, and you're like, I hate him now.
Yeah, it's the tipping point.
It's too contrived?
The tipping point was the flipping point at the Grammys.
Oh,
why do you hate the flip so much?
Well, he has such. I think it's the earnestness and the try hard nature of his performing style, and paired with his like kind of acrobatic leotard outfits, paired with his kind of like yell screamy ballady music.
So Craig just hates everything about him, in other words.
I was going to say, there's nothing you like about this person.
That's fine.
There are a lot of moms in the Midwest that like him. I can't be mad about that.
Yeah, you don't behoove. Wait, you don't behoove him his fame. Is that the right word?
I don't think so.
No,
you don't
begrudge.
Yeah,
behoove his
It sounded very wrong the first time I said that. So yeah, you don't behoove him. No, I don't know anything about Benson Boone, but
I don't really either. To be honest.
I think I hate him.
I don't.
He just does flips. He does his flippy guy. To be honest, I'm not alone. Like, this is not like me like on some island here. Like, the internet is abuzz about the cringiness of Benson Boone. So
I feel like the Gen Z's growing up when they really have their own cringe artists.
I feel like you guys are afraid to hop on board with me here. Like the Benson Boone.
I kind of just, that song stuck in my head, and I'm kind of like, yeah. I just Googled, why do people hate Benson Boone? But then
I just don't know anything. I just barely have even heard that he exists.
The only thing I know about him is he did that song at the Grammys, and I know that song. And I'm like, yeah, that song's stuck in my head.
Yeah.
He's born in 2002.
Yeah, he's like in his early 20s.
Damn. All the people left in the French Open.
You know those songs though that like only play in like an Old Navy and they're just like on repeat and they just drive you nuts. Like that song. You know what? Another one. Do you remember "You're Beautiful" by James Blunt?
Yeah, of course.
That song made me want to cut my ears off. It's just over.
I randomly saw like a reel from James Blunt the other day that was like, hey guys, guess what? It's the 20-year reunion of "You're Beautiful." Thank you guys. That song bought me this house. So thank you.
Funny.
Yeah.
Do you know?
And he's like in like a nice house.
On that note, Craig, do you know what I think is the most ubiquitous song from 20 years ago that nobody has listened to in the last 5 years? It's not a playlist. It's not anywhere. Is "Bad Day" by Daniel Powter.
Sure. Yeah.
I think that song was everywhere.
It was.
And then it just has disappeared.
What's it sound like?
Yeah,
I get a picture of
bad
that.
day.
Oh, Jesus
Cameras
Christ.
don't lie.
Yeah, that's a tough one. That's an earworm.
Just to turn it around. It's all right.
Say you don't know. Yeah. Also, how weird is your brain that I know all those lyrics still? And I'm like, I haven't heard that song in 7 years.
There's a lot of those songs. We should bring back the 1 second song challenge. You guys never went head to head.
Oh yeah, we should do that. Well, that got into like a testy argument. Yeah. We could do that. We can bring it back.
But I feel like you guys should trust me to curate the right songs.
I'm fine. I went through 1,000 emails to curate like all the list. Dika just started doing his own fucking vibes, and I got really upset.
I think I can curate
Heifetz
a good
went
list.
to great lengths to cheat, and then
I did all the work and put it in a fucking spreadsheet. You didn't read one goddamn email. And then you're like, you're cheating. And I'm like, I made the list.
You're making the list of the quiz? Like, that doesn't make any fucking sense.
You know what?
Also, I used a lot of the songs from the list.
You know what was a really big song? Heifetz, another one that kind of is just like doesn't get played anymore, but it was huge. Is "Beautiful Girls" by Sean Kingston.
Oh, well, that one, that's great. That still works though.
I know. You never hear it though.
It still hits. I had a party last week. We played it.
Oh, you're bringing it back.
Yeah. All my friends are there from that class. I was next to the other class, but you guys didn't want to hear about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't know if I want to play Craig.
Oh, come on. Don't
Heifetz plays the song challenge like he plays basketball. He's diving at people's fucking
but I will make
shins.
sure to choose the perfect songs that make it work for the both of you.
I think if Craig's curating, I won't get all upset.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll see.
Because Heifetz also had some questions about what the purpose of the exercise is that the songs need to be specifically identifiable.
You should know
in the
the
first
song.
or second.
Everyone should know the song. I don't want the 20th biggest Lady Gaga song on this goddamn list.
Or if it is the 20th biggest Lady Gaga song, it has to be very specific.
Just going to reiterate, I don't want to play Heifetz at this game.
Now we have to do it.
Yeah,
Heifetz is like the worst loser I can imagine. I do not want to play him.
This is the perfect.
It would be even worse to lose to him.
No, this is why we have to do it.
There's no world in which I want to compete against Heifetz in this game.
It's the perfect June content.
It is perfect June content.
It's too good.
Heifetz is already fucking pissing me off.
All right, so tune in next week for the 1 second song challenge.
I think we got to do it now.
I think I'm gonna quit.
You're gonna
I'm
retire.
holding out. Yeah.
Goodbye, everyone.